Hey Paul,
Hey,
my name's Nathan, and welcome to the Spike Video Game Awards.
that's not right at all.
What?
This is much better.
You're right, but we're going to discuss it here at the Pixel Response.
Podcast, which is what you all heard with Creepy Robot Lady.
Yeah, that's already happened. But okay, that was, just a couple days ago?
Friday night, I believe. We're recording on Monday, so about 3-4 days ago.
Alright, so that was Friday night.
Yep.
A date that will live forever in history.
As the day that, after driving the car of ridiculousness in reverse through time to where video games were never taken seriously, getting out of that car and then stepping forward into real territory.
Just a little bit.
Well, a step. After being in reverse for about 3 years.
I think it's more like, legends will be told about this time, and then it's like, oh, dude, if you actually saw it, it was barely a thing. Like, it was still soaked in Mountain Dew and nonsense. But
okay, so I didn't watch the VGAs, mainly because I don't have Spike, and that night I was busy doing some other stuff, so I wasn't able to stream it, which is unfortunate. And okay. I'm kind of sorry I missed it, because looking at the nominees for stuff here and the winners, I'm looking at the list right now, they actually started focusing more on taking video games seriously, almost, and I think the biggest indicator of that is that Megan Fox was not nominated for Best Voice Acting Role in a video game. Just something small like that. It kind of shows that, hey, games are like kind of a thing now, and even though we can still do our ridiculous Mountain Dew, Dorito, Spike TV men type bullshit, we can still also cater to people outside of that demographic as well.
Well, to be fair, I actually don't know if I saw much Mountain Dew. It was mostly, I was watching the stream online, so I'm not sure if I got a less robust lineup of ads, but I got tons of Black Ops. There was some GameStop in relation to that. Game trailers is starting to kind of gross me out a little bit, maybe.
I'm guessing for the TV iteration, though, they probably did their normal Spike broadcasting, so they're probably advertising like a Die Hard marathon or something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah,
it was
I don't know.
Jack Reacher. There was tons of Jack Reacher.
Great, okay.
And, I'm trying to just recall those same... Like, mostly the one that I remember is the AC/DC-fueled Black Ops ad, which made me angry at some point. I just started muting my television.
Right.
Because I just don't want to hear it. But yeah, anyway. So, the main part of it that's still kind of gross and ridiculous is, like, the actual presentation of anything. Like, it's like Samuel L. Jackson just being absolutely shameless about his persona. And just being like, hey,
he has earned that right, though. Because he has been doing it for so long. The reason people get Samuel L. Jackson is because he plays Samuel L. Jackson.
But, like, to the point where there was literally just Pulp Fiction bits. And, Star Wars, Mace Windu jokes. Like, just, I don't know. It was basically, in each break, it's just like, Samuel L. Jackson, do one of those lines from those movies we love. Alright, say what, motherfucker? Say what? One more goddamn time. Like, just does it for you. And you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Done. Checkbox, marked. Samuel L. Jackson, everybody. And I was just like, oh, alright. Snoop Lion was there.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's fucking hilarious.
It was pretty great. I was hoping he would perform, though, because they had Marlon Wayans kind of hype him up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he steps out, and there's music playing, and I was like, alright, here we go. And then he's just like, hey guys, video games are cool. And then he presented something, like, I don't know. Which is, there's total precedent for that. He was there, like, 3 years ago to present Best RPG.
Right.
Which I thought was even funnier.
Yeah.
So, okay, actually that was some of the best stuff, is like movie celebrities just being put in this video game thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for me, one of the most profound moments, like, we'll get into kind of some of the more important, like, really stuff that happened, but for me a moment that just blew my mind was Jessica Alba comes out. She's like, hey guys, I played Mario back in the day. Like, that's fine. that probably happened, despite Mezzo's contrary Twitter response. That could have happened. Millions of people play that game.
Right.
Thing that was weird was she's like, all right, check out this brand new hot exclusive trailer, and then like this medieval knight starts walking around on the screen. I was just like, wait, did like Jessica Alba just introduce Skyrim DLC? That's kind of weird. Dark Souls 2. And at that point, I was just like, this is the most amazing thing, because like this is the nerdiest niche game, and we just had like like hot young actress throwing that out there for us. Like, it's just like, nerds are so powerful right now, Paul. We can control anyone. That's kind of where I took away from it. Is video games are more powerful than we could have possibly imagined. You understand?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you not share my awe and wonderment at what has happened here?
It's Spike TV.
Maybe you should have seen it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at a list right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't have the things that you're talking about. It just shows video game nominees and the winners. So there's no personality here at all. It's very sterile. So I didn't
the actual just list of stuff. Yeah,
it's literally just text.
Right. The way everything about it looked before and after, like, it's just like, hey, this is actually a decent lineup of games for the most part. Like, some of them it's just like, all right, we have Assassin's Creed on here. Maybe it's good. I don't know. I haven't played it. But, that's a safe nomination at any rate, right?
Yeah.
But then there were some kind of more curious ones, like Walking Dead was well represented on there. 6 nominations, I think. Journey was pretty well represented. I'm going to say that's kind of as weird as they got. Really, those two. Which, again, this is why it's like baby steps. It's just like, that is as close as we're going to get in this award show to atypical choices. Thing that set it apart, though, is those games ended up winning quite a bit. Like, Journey won Best Independent Game, and I think Music.
Okay.
And then Walking Dead ended up winning, like, voice acting. And it
won a whole lot of stuff.
It won a whole lot of stuff. Most importantly, I guess, would be Game of the Year at the end of it all.
Yeah. Which,
initially, I was just like, wow, that's pretty crazy. Like, that's, of this list of 10 games, that's like the second most bizarre one.
Wait, 10 games?
Wasn't there?
I'm only looking at 5, including that.
Okay, 5 nominations then. Sorry.
Okay, because I was going to say, if 10, then this is a bad list.
Right. No, sorry. It's just, there was a lot of 10 theme. This is the 10th award show, and they did the 10 best games of the decade they chose one from. They went with Half-Life 2.
Right.
Which, sure, I guess. But, yeah, I guess of the 5 games they had there, they chose Walking Dead, which, I'm, like, initially I was like, oh, dude, like, an adventure game in 2012 won. Like, if you've listened to our podcast last week, we had discussion about, like, full transparency, I don't love that game, but it's still interesting to see a writing-heavy thing like that sneak in there and take it. But then I
get this problem where a game of the year should probably be a game. That's my thing. And they've even stated as much on their podcast, I believe, where it's not so much a game.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for anyone giving me shit because I said that before, fuck you. They even said it themselves. They're cognizant that what they created was an interactive experience and not necessarily a game by normal standards. So fuck off.
Like, there's no win conditions, like that kind of stuff. Like, they talk about that on their own podcast, Idle Thumbs. So,
right.
Were people actually giving you crap about that?
Yeah, I got shit for it because I said something the other day on a different live show thing we did.
Oh, okay. I thought this was like, well, I was saying a lot of mean things too. Why don't I ever get this stuff?
I don't know, and some guy was giving me shit about me saying that there should be more variety than just pizza and Chinese food to order out. Mm-hmm. Because, like, with my schedule and stuff, when I just need a convenient food, there's a lot of times I want something other than pizza every night, or, like, Chinese food, and he went off the fucking handle about it.
How do you get angry about that?
I don't know. Like, that guy's a fucking piece of shit. So, whatever, fuck him. I'm not even going to give him the...
Alright, I kind of just want more context for myself. Like, you can order chicken. Like, that's the only other one I can think of. But
Yeah.
You're generally, like, it's not like I can phone up Mucho Burrito and be like, hey, bring me one of those.
Well, and the thing with chicken is that they even close, like, when I'm talking about a weird schedule, like the other day I was at a burlesque show, and I got home at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, at that point, your options are terrible. It's like, do you want to go to McDonald's or get a slice of pizza?
Yeah, essentially.
You can't order McDonald's to deliver. Is that your issue? Like, it's like, bring me a McBistro. Bring it to my house.
And, like, this guy was saying shit, like, about how he's seen some stuck-up shit going on his timeline right now. He would be fucking grateful for having pizza or Chinese within delivery distance, you uptight fuck. This person clearly doesn't have a love of food that the rest of us may, and honestly, I find that fucking disturbing.
Okay.
He was going off the handle, and then I just kept messaging him, like, dude, I know it's about me, talk to me, you fucking pussy. Like, I'm not gonna give his Twitter name out or whatever, because he might get a follower, and that would be a travesty to follow this piece of shit, so fuck him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Online media. So you did do media this week.
Yeah, I did Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twitter. Source of a lot of news stories, in fact.
Yeah,
Weird.
in fact, that's how I found out about a lot of the stuff on the VGAs. I saw you and Eno Mezzo.
Yeah, we were both tweeting it quite a bit. Just, yeah, man. I still, like, I wish I could summarize how nutty the actual presentation of this show is. Like, it's still as silly as it was, like, 3 years ago.
Like, I have an idea, I guess. What was it last year? They had, like, Felicia Day was doing some dumb shit on it, and who did they have? Like, the guy from Chuck was the host?
Zachary Levi was still there this year, just kind of saying stuff. Like, they'll trot out a nerd person. Like, they have some guy from Big Bang Theory who would come out and say some jokes and stuff like that. Just kind of that kind of stuff. But yeah, mostly just Samuel Jackson doing his thing, which, like, I guess they did a kind of movie thing where they edit the dude into the stuff. So Samuel Jackson was just in Walking Dead season 2, like, or season 1, episode 2 opening bit worth the leg cutting.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff, or like in Dishonored shooting a guy, and that's like Pulp Fiction style. Some of that stuff I thought was really funny though, in terms of like it just being like this weird blood-soaked insane montage of violence sometimes, and then Journey wins an award or something. Like there was like these weird great moments of contrast where it's just like best action games goes to Dishonored, and then it's just like blam blam blam, and like head explodes and all this stuff, and like that all happens, and then it's just like, all right, moving into this other one, Journey, and then like the people go up and they basically say like it's nice to do something different, and I was like, yeah, it is. Like it in every video presentation, it was just like guns, 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 weird dude with a long scarf jumping around a desert, and I was just like, wow, this just looks such a weird things happening where this just stands out inherently because everything else is of this type. Well, just with more fighting and stuff. Like, I'm not even disparaging that kind of stuff entirely. It's just, it does stand out when you don't do it. So hopefully this will subtly encourage people to go in a little more interesting direction sometimes. Although, like, I mean, jumping around, that's still a gameplay staple as well, platforming. But to see one kind of given enough thought and attention that it ends up on a stage like this, it's still kind of cool.
Yeah. But I'm wondering if we could go down the list of some of these and maybe just give our opinions.
I don't have, like, strong opinions on... I guess another thing, just briefly, another kind of weird issue I have with the VGAs and how they present themselves is they kind of, like, if a game... Like, the emphasis isn't so much on the games that have already happened, it's just kind of on games. So there's a lot of advertising for future games.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, and it just really... Like, I watch a lot of movie award shows, too, and it just stood out as just being like, this is so not how that industry handles it. Like, it's not like, hey, guys, get ready for next year's summer blockbusters. It's like, no, we're at the Oscars now. We don't care about that. You know, like, no one's talking about that stuff. Like, in between the show, maybe you'll get some commercials or something, but there's never a point where it's just like, everyone in this theater right now, just sit back, we're going to watch this trailer for the new Michael Bay film or something. Like, that's nutty. That would never happen. But here it's like, yeah, get hype for all this stuff, and then they'll show trailers for a number of games that, like, some of which were unannounced. And they do that a lot. It's like world exclusives, game trailers getting their stuff on.
Right.
And
like, that brings me to the most anticipated game category.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was looking at the nominees, and South Park: The Stick of Truth is on there, which I found weird, but then I realized it's because they had an exclusive video for it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
like, and then it just makes that whole category, you look at it, like, oh, they had something for Bioshock, they had something for Last of Us. It's just
Ken
kind
Levine came out.
It's just kind of gross. It's like, most anticipated game is one of these games that paid us to show.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's all market driven, and that's kind of still a weird thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, tons of room for improvement, but again, tiny little steps. Little.
Well, there's some funny stuff going on here.
Mm-hmm.
So, best Xbox 360 and PS3 game.
Yeah.
The winners were exclusives to each system, respectively. But the other 3 nominees were all multi-platform games, and they were the same list. So you had Assassin's Creed 3, Borderlands 2, and Dishonored on both of them.
Yeah.
And then the best one for each category was the exclusive.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that was happening when I was voting on, like, the user choice ones or whatever.
It's kind of hilarious. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then they had this Entertainment Weekly and Spike VGA Best Game of the Decade.
Yeah, VGA Game of the Decade was presented by Tenacious D.
Okay.
They made some jokes about a fishing game.
Okay.
And then they announced the real winner, which was, Half-Life 2.
Half-Life 2.
And Gabe N was up there, but he brought, like, the whole team with him or whatever. Not all of them.
Yeah.
Because there must have been hundreds of them. But, like, 20 people were up there or something, and he didn't say anything. He just kind of stood there.
See, the list for that is kind of weird to me, too. Some of the things they picked. Like, first of all...
There was a couple for me that were a little like, what? Alright.
First of all, like, World of Warcraft is in a league of its own, kind of, and I think they demonstrated that. I think it was last year when they gave Blizzard the, like, Best Developer Ever award or whatever. Gamer God Award, it was called.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's just like, well, obviously World of Warcraft, if they had that title, would have been Game of the Decade, since it's had over 10 million subscribers paying for it every month for the last, like, 7 years.
I was honestly kind of bracing for it to win, because I assumed that would happen, but then...
It's just weird it was nominated at all in this category.
Well, because it's like...
It's almost a business model more than it's
social
a game.
network. Yeah, it's like Blizzard made this really successful social activity thing. And is that really the same as any of these other things?
No, because people are actually giving money to them to play it. Like, it's a whole different league of its own.
Mm-hmm.
So, just having it in there next to, like, Wii Sports, kind of weird.
Wii Sports was important, though. But...
it was important in the fact that it was, like, the game that people bought a Wii for originally, and then everything else was just gravy on top of it.
Yeah, and it, well, like, bridged that gap to a lot of new people and stuff, but...
But then, like, Batman Arkham City was a weird one.
Arkham City, yeah, I was like...
Because Arkham Asylum, I could see more of an argument for, but either way, I don't see them as Game of the Decade.
I'd more appreciate Arkham Asylum, just because it's like, well, it introduced that combat system. It was a very good example of, like, a licensed product. You know, like, there's a case could at least be made for it. Whereas
for
City,
that one, yeah.
Like, well, that's the follow-up. That's the easy part. Like, that's iterating on the already successful breakthrough.
Yeah, and then, like, people know my stance on Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. There's no way that would have been Game of the Decade for me, but that's just that. And Bioshock, even though I love it, I don't see that, even in the same respects as Half-Life 2, and it made me realize that the things I like about Half-Life 2 isn't necessarily the game, but more what they introduced in it for, like, gaming conventions that came later on in other games and stuff like that, and just the new engine and everything. Like, it was a really solid game with a lot of stuff they pulled in to make it, but the actual game itself, I didn't particularly...
like, has weird pacing problems and stuff. Yeah, it was more just like this game made using physics like this, a standard kind of, and like...
And then, like, it throws you into this world where stuff is happening and you're going through the world. It has a decently strong narrative, even though they never focus too hard on a story with your main character. Like, you're able to jump in as... They did some weird things where you're able to play as Gordon Freeman, but you are him Like, they did a whole bunch of stuff with that series, really. And I'm just saying, I guess, that I appreciate it more for the stuff it did in that regard than the actual game. Like, sitting down and playing it, I don't have as much fun just playing it as a game as I do recognizing the important things it probably did for gaming.
Whereas I kind of look at it as, like, that thing that promoted Steam at a key point in time.
Well, yeah, and, like, their new engine and everything else, it was basically a tech demo for what was coming up as well. Like, it was important for them as a company, too, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. And then, like, Mass Effect 2, love that game to pieces, but I don't see it as the best game of the decade, personally. I don't see Red Dead Redemption being...
Like, well, at this point, you're just missing, like, a lot of quality stuff. Like, what are your games of the decade?
See, that's something I would have to think about the last 10 years, though.
Sorry.
What?
There's no getting around it. Red Dead Redemption has to be on there, though.
Why?
Because it's really good.
It's an open world game where you're a
They
cowboy.
changed the game, though, Paul.
You're a cowboy.
Yeah, right. That was fun. I was a cowboy. I had a horse and everything.
I stopped playing it. Shit's boring. After a while.
Bad, though, Paul.
I did jump back into it when they released the Halloween thing.
Oh, okay.
And then I stopped playing again because it was just zombie mode. So
I guess I'm mainly just like, I really like the ending. And a lot of people haven't seen it, it seems. So
yeah, I stopped playing.
That might be a problem.
But, like, to be fair, also, I don't really play the GTA games that much anymore either. I just got burnt out on the whole sandboxy open world thing, so it just fell into a bad time for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, I was like, dude, why would you fast travel anywhere? I'm gonna ride my horse there.
I never did actually fast travel anywhere. I did kind of like riding the horse and just coming upon weird things.
Mm-hmm.
Like a bunch of, like, bandits or something, like a shootout, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then jump off your horse and do that, then maybe steal one of their horses and keep going along the dusty trail. Like, that sort of thing was fine. It was when you got down to doing the game with the missions and stuff, I just got bored of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Portal and Shadow of the Colossus were on there too, for anybody wondering.
Yeah, I wouldn't take a hard stance on that. Like, Portal, I think, was a good inclusion. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Shadow of the Colossus was... Like, I'm trying to, separate nostalgia from what it's actually all about, but I do still really like that game.
Yeah, that game's really well made still. Like, it's still playable, which is something to be said.
And has some interesting kind of paring down bloated gameplay design in favor of just, like, no, just focus on, like, the bosses. That's the best part anyway. So just make that the main show and put more of them in it.
For sure, because, like, the whole thing with Shadow of the Colossus is essentially, like, we're not going to tell you anything. You're this guy. Go. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to go over here. Oh, my fucking God, what is that? I'm going to kill it.
You got to fight it.
Then it's just like, I'm going to kill it. And then after you do, you realize, wait, he was just walking around. Why did I do that?
Yeah, no, it does some clever stuff. It's just, last time I played it was the HD collection. It didn't get me all the way through it again.
I was going to ask you how that was. I haven't even seen footage from it, so...
It definitely fixes the frame rate issue, but not the draw distance issue, which...
That might just be a programming thing, though, that they would have to fix in the actual code.
Yeah, which, I don't know why I expected that, but I was just like, man, I guess the frame rate was only half the problem. But it's still the best version of that game there is.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, I was having trouble actually finding the list. It was on EW and in a photo thing. That's gross. I don't like that.
That's pretty bad.
I'm just gonna call that out now. This website is mean. It doesn't...
Photo stuff?
Yeah.
You know what I don't like is when they have, like, top 10 something, and then you have to go next page for each number.
I know! That's like just click whoring or whatever. Like, that's trying to get me to click on your website more.
It's gross, yeah. It's like a phishing scam, almost.
That is less efficient video game information.
It just feels gross, yeah.
But, okay. So yeah, I guess the big historical things was, yeah, Walking Dead. Although, okay, this was the kind of pessimistic part of my brain sneaking in there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this won because of its qualities as, like, hey, trying to put some narrative in there, characters,
no,
or
it won because The Walking Dead's huge.
Yeah, like the Walking Dead license is at a point right now where it's at its zenith, and it's
You
just
think
like,
Joe
hey,
Schmo Bro gives a shit about what it does? He
not Joe.
just he just
Oh,
sees Walking Dead. Awesome. Click.
well, that's why he doesn't freak out that his beloved Call of Duty didn't win or whatever.
Well, Call of
But
Duty wasn't even nominated, which is kind of a nice thing to see.
even though it's supposed to be good, you're right. It's a little
Okay,
different.
well, I'm going to quickly say something about that then, since we're talking quickly about Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
Best shooter was Borderlands 2,
Yeah.
and even though I haven't played Black Ops 2 yet, or Max Payne 3, like, I don't see how the shooting in Max Payne 3 could be best shooter of the year, mainly because a lot of people have complained about it, that I've heard.
I was kind of confused how many times Max Payne 3 was nominated, and I liked that game.
Yeah, so Borderlands 2 is a fun game, but as a shooter, they don't focus enough on the guns and the actual gun play. It's more of an RPG that you play with your friends, and like the focus on the guns are the different weird things they do, not necessarily how they feel shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So just based on like what I know Call of Duty is really good at, which is why I buy them every year and play through the campaign and then stop, even though I have fun with it while I'm doing it, is that they do the shooting really well. Call of Duty has always done the gunplay very well, and like to me, it was between Halo 4 and Call of Duty, and just knowing how Halo plays, and then knowing how Call of Duty played before, I would say it should have been one of those two, probably Call of Duty for best shooter. It just seems weird that Borderlands 2 won.
Well, it's like at that point, it's like what quality? It's just like really all I'm concerned about is how do the guns shoot
For a shooter, like for that specific thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm looking at that as more of like it is a genre, and you know if the story you tell in this other one isn't as fun or whatever, like
Borderlands 2 is less of a shooter though because the emphasis isn't on just killing shit; it's on getting loot and like RPG stuff and playing with friends. That's my opinion, anyway.
Well, I mean, Call of Duty has this whole like the multiplayer side of it. Has
the multiplayer side, yeah, but the main thing that they focused on was tweaking the shooting aspect of it.
Okay, well, I mean, it also like Borderlands 2 also won best multiplayer game. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, I completely agree with that because that game actually feels a lot better in multiplayer. It makes the game feel like more of a thing you would want to do with friends than single player.
Because it's all cooperative, so that's a little different.
Yeah, even though it still did some weird things that the first one did, like if you join someone's server or whatever, and they are one quest ahead of you in a quest line, that quest you can no longer do.
Okay.
Yeah, just like little stuff like that, but that's problems the first one had too, and when you're playing with friends, you don't really care usually because you're all like texting each other, hey, jump on, we're gonna go. So you level up together, and it's not a huge deal, but...
Yeah. Maybe this is kind of in their own way trying to give the most fresh face some attention, because it's like... It's like the 6th Halo game, really, and the, I don't know, 6th Call of Duty game as well, 7th maybe?
From 2007 every year until now.
Right. Oh, if you include the games before, like, we're deep in Call of Duty. There's been tons of them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, you know, Max Payne 3, it's right there in the name. 3 is bigger than 2, so the most original game on this list is...
Of course.
Yeah. Maybe that's what they were looking at.
It just seems weird Max Payne's on there at all, to be honest, though.
I'm looking at it, though. I voted for it, but that's only because it's the only game I've played of those.
Oh, okay.
So I was just like, I don't know. It was okay. Pick submitted. But yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say it was in any way better than those, though. I can't really say for sure.
Was Spec Ops: The Line nominated for anything?
I think it kind of showed up in there for, like, song or something, but I'm not sure.
Oh, no. It was for Nolan North.
Human male performance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't see it anywhere else, and that's kind of hilarious? I don't know. I wouldn't say that game is, like, Game of the Year potential, but it might have deserved a nod somewhere, I'm thinking.
Some people on Reddit were complaining about it not being better represented, and then, I don't know. Like, I guess it could have gotten on there, but...
Like, what category would it be under, though? Best Spec Ops game of the year?
Best... Yeah. Best shooter. No.
Like, that might have been able to replace Max Payne, but the shooting wasn't particularly great in that either.
Yeah, then I would be more looking at it as a genre or something. There really is no writing award, huh?
No, there isn't. It's hilarious.
Okay, that's still a glaring problem. Like, I mean, Sean Vanneman and Jake Rodkin were up there when Walking Dead won Best Game, but yeah, there was no real category for them. It's just like, these guys were important. They're up here too. And, yeah. Okay.
Of the nominees for Game of the Year, I don't know which one I would have chosen, honestly. Like, I didn't vote, I guess. It should be apparent by now.
Yeah, I clicked through this website a couple weeks ago.
Like, there was Assassin's Creed 3, Dishonored, Journey, Mass Effect 3, and Walking Dead.
Right. I voted for Journey, because I did like that game quite a bit. And I didn't mind Mass Effect 3.
See, I probably would have voted for Mass Effect 3 mainly because as a full package, I felt like it gave me most of the biggest bang for my buck. Because it had a robust and fun multiplayer experience. It had obviously the closing out of one of my favorite game series, and it had a decent story that you kind of drive, but no, you don't. And like it's just it's a Mass Effect game, and I like Mass Effect games, so
right,
that might have been my game of the year for these nominees.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how Dishonored is really on there because it's not. It's fun.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's not really anything special.
Okay. People really like it. It won something.
Maybe I'm taking these awards too seriously.
We're taking them way too seriously already at this point. We've talked about them too long. Like, I'm still... Like, it's a weird, gross spectacle that is starting to maybe earn some validity, but then again, the part of my brain that's still like, dude, Walking Dead only won because Walking Dead. It didn't win because they liked it. That kind of grosses me out, so...
Which reminds me, I was watching the episode we missed last time we were recording the Walking Dead thing. And they were talking about an iOS app. Did you see this? The game that's coming out? Which is essentially just like a top-down shooter.
It's like a squad-based action thing, yeah.
Right, and it made me feel a little weird because the things I think Walking Dead is about and does best is not anything to do with action.
Yeah.
So, like, to see that they're kind of pushing more of this, like, you can be Rick and shoot zombies.
Yeah, like, they're kind of boiling down to the point where they missed the part of it that makes it important. So
and the thing is, like, the dude that created it, Kirkman, he's behind it. Like, he's still okay with it, it seems, because he's the one chilling it out.
Yeah, at this point, I'm sure he's just kind of...
It's a money grab for him.
Tons of stuff, because, like, it's ridiculous how well that franchise is doing right now. And, like, there's the AMC game coming out, and that's just a first-person shooter that I'm assuming won't be very good.
Okay, did you watch Talking Dead, then?
This last episode that happened, I missed it this time.
Okay, because they talk about the games coming out for Walking Dead. They're, like, saying how we'll see you next year and all this other Walking Dead stuff and blah, blah, blah. And they didn't mention anything about Telltale's game. Which is a little weird. Like, I understand.
It's on AMC, though, so it doesn't really fit within their circle of stuff.
Right, so I understand that, but it just seems disingenuous to one of the better things. Like, I don't think the other Walking Dead game will be good.
Oh, I really would doubt it. I mean, it's Activision, they threw it to some team. It's just like, here, throw together a shooter in a year or something. We'll put our name on it, boom. There you go.
Like I was going to say, maybe it's the cynical part of me, but then I realized that you're just as cynical. So.
Oh, totally, yeah. I would be very surprised if that game is...
I will be pleasantly surprised if it's good.
Yeah, sure. It's like, hey, Daryl's in it, and we actually made that cool and fun. You're just like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, that would be okay.
But I doubt that, yeah. Just saying.
So, I guess... Like, maybe we should just talk about that quickly. So we finally saw the mid-season Walking Dead thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just to harp more on the thing that we're getting a little annoyed by how popular it is. Let's give it a little more popularity and talk about it, I guess.
Right. I don't know if I'm like that annoyed, but I'm definitely not at the level as a lot of people. And I don't know if that's zombie fatigue or it's just no, the show just doesn't have very good characters.
I think it's that because this last episode didn't really do much for me except for get me irritated at Andrea.
Yeah, kinda.
And I think it was the episode that people were waiting for, where there would be some action.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it was somewhat intense because you didn't know when they were gonna like finally see face to face or when people were gonna meet up with each other and stuff like that. And the whole part with Michonne, Michonne, I think, specifically was one of the better parts for action in that because it actually had some emotion and character shit mixed in with it.
Okay.
Yeah, because it...
sword fight type stuff, yeah.
Yeah, well, mainly because, like, the daughter...
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole thing where she does what she does with the daughter, and it almost seems like it's the last, like, shred of humanity the governor had.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he's been pushed real far now.
Like, there's nothing left for him, because I think that was his gateway to a happier time for him. Maybe still, because he was still holding on to some hope.
Uh-huh.
And now it just seems like they're going to go with this, oh no, now he's just a piece of shit. And I think this is the part I've been waiting for, because as it stands, I've been very tepid with the governor. Like, he's annoyed me with some of the stuff he's done, but I never really cared.
Oh, yeah, like that early scene where they're supposed to establish him as a bad dude, and he shoots a bunch of army dudes. I literally don't care at all about those guys, so whatever. He's fine.
Like, you knew he was up to shady shit, but everybody in that situation probably
Everyone in that world is now, so it doesn't matter. But yeah.
Right.
But he's like, but he's got a room full of creepy heads! That's different.
Like,
okay.
I guess I'm coming at it from a place where I haven't read the comics.
I have not.
And I think now they're finally going to start getting into stuff where people are like, oh my god, the governor, that have. Mm-hmm. And because I haven't seen anything from him, so I don't give a shit about him yet, and I'm hoping when they come back, they're actually going to show us why he's something to be either reckoned with or just take note of, because so far I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I just think, like, I have just more problems with that whole cast of characters. Like, there's just nobody I'm like, man, this guy right here, I really, really like this guy. I want to see how he grows and develops. It's just like, I don't really...
and like Rick's losing it.
Yeah, like there's tons of characters there, but the number of them that I would qualify as like being good or interesting is... I don't know if anyone's on that list. I just don't really care about this show. Like, it's...
I think the way Glenn has been in the last few episodes has been okay, because he's been a lot more maybe apparent. He's been kind of not doing so much in the last while.
Yeah.
Like, to see him the center of, like, getting his ass kicked and you know he wants revenge and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, it might do something.
Well, it's stuff, but none of it matters. Like, it's just like, we have a collection of characters in this post-apocalyptic thing, and they stab things every week, and there you go. Like, it's maybe emphasizing too much action for me to really care this season. Like,
right, but, like, what would be something that would matter to you, then?
Well, like,
because if you look at it that way, nothing has really mattered in a while.
In 2, they have, like, the Shane, Rick, like, who's worst kind of dilemma. Yeah. And now it's just, like, everyone's kind of bad. And, you know, Carl's growing...
Like there's no more, like, play off each other, like a good and evil type dichotomy going. It's just kind of everybody's at this level now where they'll do anything.
Yeah, and, like, to some extent that's realistic, because it's, like, extreme circumstances, so the worst of humanity comes out. But, like, if everyone is that, like, I don't know, there's just nothing... It's just like, alright, who's gonna shoot or stab something in the face this week? Okay. Like, Michonne is there, and she's a new addition to the crew, but, like, she just likes killing stuff, too. Like, there's nothing to just, like, makes her more interesting or...
Well, I think there is something that makes her interesting, but they're not focusing on any character stuff as much as they were anymore.
Right.
So, like, we don't see any of that now.
It's like, oh, you really care about the dynamic between Andrea and Michonne. It's like, no, you skipped over all that. Like, they were together for months, but you barely established that, and then we kind of jumped to the point where they parted ways. So, as far as I know, they never cared about each other. But in this episode specifically, it's like, and it's like, no, this isn't working right now. Your drama has not been earned. What are you doing? And it's just like, okay.
So, you know that small group that make their way into the prison?
Yeah.
Apparently that Tyrese guy is a dude that they're gonna that does some cool shit or something.
Okay.
But, like, how would we know that?
Yeah, like that just seemed like such a weird kind of like opening the episode. It's like, and here's more people.
I thought it was like in the future or something, like 20 years later.
Oh, okay, like, it's just a little tease of something else going on, but it's just like, no, this is just happening also, and now they're part of this problem.
Yeah, because, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, because if you're living your life, AAA, and all that sort of thing, you don't, like, people just come in and out of it randomly,
Mm-hmm.
but as a spectator, I want to know why I should care about these people you introduced before a long hiatus that I'm probably going to forget all about.
Kinda, yeah. Like, also the idea of a mid-season hiatus, is that relatively new to television? Like, what's going on?
I know that South Park does it, but it's because they need time off. Like,
Right.
after pushing themselves every day to get an episode out every week for like a couple months, they need to take a couple months off.
Whereas they're teasing, like, new stuff already. Like, I'm assuming it's all shot. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking up actually the list of episode 3 right now. Or season 3, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the next episode already has a name and like who it's directed and written by and when it's going to air. Also, episode 15. So about 7 episodes ahead of now, they already have a name and everything for. So they're done shooting.
Okay, so this is a longer season though.
It is 16 episodes.
Okay, so 8 and 8. So okay, I guess
going till March 31st.
This might just be a thing AMC is doing now, because like Breaking Bad, they split up in a similar way.
Okay.
Where it's like, here's the first 8, and it kind of has its own arc, and now here's part 2, which is going to have its finale.
I guess I kind of still don't understand why they do it, though. Like, I would just rather keep watching every week, and then when it's done for the year, go on to the next thing.
Probably just to sustain a certain hype around the show, and market it up, get that video game out there.
I guess, but does this show really need it? Like, out of all the shows on TV?
I'm not an economist or whatever, so I'm sure there's some business reason.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there totally is. Everything happens because...
Certainly not creative or artistic in any way. It's all driven by money.
Yeah.
Greedy AMC.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't do the same with Mad Men.
They're doing it with Comic Book Men as well, though.
They're splitting up their show, too?
Yeah, so I think it might just be an AMC thing, like, for sure.
A block of their programs rolled together?
Yeah.
Like, you brought up Talking Dead. I don't... Like, I mean, that isn't even a show. That's just a big ad for Walking Dead.
It's literally just them talking about the episode.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, let's hype up this whole thing. Let's praise this with no criticism whatsoever, because it's only exists to market for this thing.
I wonder how Chris Hardwick feels about being a corporate whore.
He seems fine with it.
I mean, I guess I probably would do it for money.
Hmm?
I might do it for money. Like, he's probably okay with it. Yeah.
Well, he seems like he puts on that smile every week and says stuff, so...
He does seem like a genuinely affable fellow, too.
Who is he really? Like, the Nerdist?
He's the Nerdist.
But who is that? He's just a guy who says things on the internet? Kind of like me?
So basically, you are equal to...
If not
Chris
better.
Hardwick. If not better. Okay.
I mean, I am younger, so...
I guess, yeah.
I'm just gonna stand in the air.
Like, mainly he did a show for a while called, what was it called? It's like those soup shows. I think it was Web Soup, which is essentially what Ray William Johnson does, but he did it on TV. He did a whole bunch of other just small hosting gigs. Like, he's used to hosting stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then he did, like, his Nerdist podcast, and then that grew into kind of an industry, kind of like how Smodcast was a podcast, and now it has
like, if I recall, he did an interview with John Hamm I thought was pretty good.
Yeah, probably.
He's also apparently just been in movies here and there. Rob Zombie is standing out on this list.
Yeah, like, they just kind of throw him in whatever. He'll do whatever.
Okay, he'll do whatever.
And he's a comedian as well.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
So...
I don't know.
So
I'm mostly just still bitter about that.
It's his MO if he'll do whatever. It's like, talk about this for half an hour, we'll give you lots of money. It's like, yeah?
Alright. I can do that. I can feel enthusiasm for this thing.
He probably does actually like the show, too, which helps.
Yeah, alright.
Yeah. So
it's the zombie kill of the week stuff, man. I think like
it's
that's
stupid. That shit is stupid.
Just whatever. But
the best part of the show actually is when they do the like weird pop-up video type thing, and they just give you little tidbits of information of the production of the last episode.
Like, it's so weird. It's like I'm just like, here, watch a featurette on the DVD after it every week. You're just like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. It's a featurette aired right after.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, hey, joke's on me, I watched a couple of them, so it works, dude.
And it's entertaining.
Yeah, it's not very long, and you're kind of just waiting for Comic Book Man anyway, so...
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's going to be an hour now when they come back, because Comic Book Man is moving to a different time.
Oh, weird.
They're moving to Tuesday primetime, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And, so Walking Dead is just going to be the only thing on AMC now, I guess, on Sundays. So if you wanted to watch anything else, guess what? Not going to happen. So, yeah.
Great. Alright. That happened.
Mm-hmm. And apparently so did Boardwalk Empire.
Oh, if we want to just stick to TV.
Might as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still kind of going through what I have of Season 2, and there's been some okay moments here and there, I guess. But... again, it's mostly just the cast keeping me there. Yeah. I don't know. I just like, Michael Pitt's pretty good. I like that guy. I don't know. It's pretty good.
I wish I had a basis to chat with you on this show, but from what little I've seen of it, I didn't get into it at all.
Yeah. It is 1920s gangster stuff, so...
which sounds like it could be okay, but maybe they're not handling it in a way that I really have interest in.
I think it's just the way they juggle characters and stuff. Like, they just don't have any kind of episode arcs in them or anything. Like, there's not a lot of tension ever. You know, it's a weird hour of television. Like, it's just like, all these stories are running concurrently, but, like, nothing specifically eventful is happening in any of them this week for some reason. Mm-hmm. So, why are we here? I don't know. Like, that was, like, every time I pause it or start messing with my phone because there's just like not a lot happening on the screen.
Yeah, that's weird. That's a bad thing for a show to have, and it's kind of weird that you're sticking with it.
It's like well shot, and the costume, I don't know. I don't have many good excuses. It's just the people.
It sounds like a lot of people are really kind of cold on it now too. It had a lot of hype when it first came on. A lot of people were talking about it on Twitter.
Yeah, it's like, yo, Martin Scorsese's put his name on this gangster show.
But now it kind of seems like people are just like, well, I guess I'll watch Boardwalk Empire because I have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, really? Okay.
Like, I'm going to clear off this hard drive space. I feel bad not watching these before I delete them, so I'll watch it and then delete it. So
see, that's such a weird thing.
I know.
Because the premise behind it is solid enough that it could be a great show.
Is it? I don't know. It's like well-mined territory, like gangsters. Bootlegging. Like, it's like, alright, I'll just watch Gangster Squad in January, get a little slice of that, and then walk away. Yeah. In fact, that's not even about bootlegging, that's in like the 40s.
Yeah, like it would make a fine movie and has before.
Mm-hmm.
It's Untouchables like as a TV show, it's weird.
Yeah. I'm not sure really what to suggest to fix it, but...
that's like trying to make a TV series out of the 9/11 incident. Like, you have the thing that happened, and you could probably do a few things with it, but then how long do you drag it out? Like, why do we keep watching this? Because we know that, like, this shit's just going to happen, and that's it, I guess, for the payoff in the end.
I mean, okay, this is born completely out of ignorance, but that sounds kind of like what Homeland is.
I don't know what Homeland is at all.
It's a well-regarded show that's, like, winning a bunch of awards and stuff right now that seems to just be about kind of paranoia around terrorists in
that the
America.
I'm just trying to think if that's the show that I keep seeing commercials for when I'm watching other stuff I care about. No, it's something else. Sorry.
Okay, just did one best drama or something at the Emmys last year.
Claire Danes, apparently.
Yeah. I've been thinking about watching the first season, but I'm also starting to hear rumbles that season 2 is getting mad silly. So it might be doing stuff already that's like, yeah, you can't sustain this premise for too long before it just gets into dumb. So, whatever. CIA stuff.
I have heard of this. I haven't seen anything about it, though.
Right. Maybe it's great. I don't know. It's on Showtime, so check it out. Or don't. I don't know. Great. And their website has ads. Great. Time. Right. Also, the newest episode of My Little Pony came out, and they just can keep going down that fan service train.
Okay. Is that good or bad?
I don't like it. I don't like what's happening. It's just like, hey, remember all that stuff from before?
You're not the usual brony, though. Like,
no, I'm not.
Like, I think I noticed that more as I have been inadvertently followed by more on the internet because I know you.
Yeah.
And a lot of them act in ways that are kind of gross. They talk, like, the way they talk about stuff is just kind of like, it's almost like a cult.
But, like, what do you mean? Like, what are they saying? I'm missing this stuff or not seeing it that way. Like, what?
Like, just the stuff about, oh no, we need to make sure that they, like, understand our way of life. And just, like, talk about weird stuff like, we need to indoctrinate everybody.
Like, I think a lot of them just have... Okay, this is, like, generalization to some extent, but it's just
but you're part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like, there's a lot of emphasis on, like, oh man, they just don't understand. You know, they just can't understand us. And you're just like, what are you talking about? It's like a TV show. Like, there's nothing to understand. It's just you like this show and it's fine. Like,
yeah.
But, like, people get so defensive about it. Like, it's just like, no, man, you just don't get it. Like, they just assume everyone's out to get them. And it's just like, I think you have no self-esteem is the problem.
Yeah, and, like, the thing is, like, they'll bring that stuff up, even though I never asked them if they even like the show. Like, it's just weird stuff like that.
Like, to be fair, it's kind of like a badge I'll wear on my sleeve if needed, but, like, it's not the only thing going on.
And right, because, like, we just talked for a good long while about the VGAs and Boardwalk Empire and Walking Dead.
Right.
Like, ponies are not your life.
No, but, like, I mean, I got my first season DVD, and it has commentaries and stuff, and, like, it's like a show I really like. It, you know, it's like, hey, the new season of Mad Men came out too, and I bought that.
Right.
It's really good. Like, just diversify your interest a bit, man. Like, ponies is a gateway into more stuff if you let it. Like, don't just start getting angry.
So this attitude that you're overgeneralizing, and I am too to an extent, obviously. Do you think it's more of a less mature audience, or is it like the older fans that are doing that sort of thing?
Oh, I don't think... Yeah, I wouldn't blame any of this on, like, the target market, like 10-year-olds and stuff. Like, they're fine.
No, I'm talking about, like, the 13-year-olds and stuff that probably get picked on it at school, so they have to go on the internet and just be like, I hate everybody because they don't like my show.
There's so much of that on Twitter right now. Like, I follow a lot of pony fans on Twitter.
Well, obviously, because you're part of the community.
Right, but, like, I really question why sometimes, because, like, they're just so bitter and angry with people, and it's just like, what are you doing? Like, how are you watching this show and then still going around just punching the wall and being angry?
Like, I think the thing is, like, I'm trying to understand where that's coming from, and, like, from you're out of school and you're doing your own thing, so you don't really need to worry about any of that. Is it maybe the audience, the part of the audience where it's, like, people that have to deal with getting hassled about it every day because they have a sticker on their binder or something like that?
Well, I guess, yeah, and it's like, I would, on one level, be like, well, grow some backbone, that's fine, no one should get mad at you about that. But if you're putting that sticker on your binder just to get reactions...
You're trolling.
Like, you're kind of just, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Like, and that's a little weird, because it's like, I have t-shirts and stuff, and it's just like, well, you know, but it's just, they're part of my lineup of shirts that I wear.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I'm going to a big event or something, I may or may not wear that.
If you're going to the Galloping Gala?
I missed the Galloping Gala last year, actually. It was at the university.
Is that an actual thing?
Yeah. It was some manner of fan meetup at the university.
Okay, but that's a thing in the show, right?
Yeah, it's the first season finale.
Yeah, okay. Right.
Yeah, which I'm just gonna say, like, just, I think it's pretty clear. First season, just in terms of writing, is the best season. And a lot of people don't think that, and I find that really confusing. But it's like, oh no, dude, show just keeps getting better and better. It's like, no, it doesn't.
Okay, since we're talking seriously about ponies, which I didn't think we would do.
Mm-hmm.
What makes it, like, I've seen a few episodes that you've recommended to me, obviously, so I'm not completely in the dark. But
Yeah.
what's the difference in writing between Season 1 and Season 2?
They start just... Season 1, just each episode is just its own little kind of moral dilemma or friendship problem, and they'll just kind of explore it in a very kids show way. And that's fine. Like, that's all it's supposed to do. Season 2, they start getting into more kind of... Like, Season 1 opens with a 2-episode arc that is more kind of like, oh, you know, this ancient villain is going to have, like, come back and all this stuff. But at the same time, it's really just introducing the characters.
Nightmare.
And, yeah. But then there's also...
I still think that's the best name for a character ever.
Well, because it's a horse, yeah. Nightmare. Yeah. It's
so good.
Nightmare Moon, yeah. And I watched the commentary, actually, for that episode from some of the voice actors and writing staff and stuff. And yeah, they talk about it too. It's just introduces the characters, each one gets a chance to kind of stay true to their friends or, like, practice their quality, you know, honesty or whatever. Like, each one kind of has their own virtue that they represent.
Right.
And it's just like, hey, there's some zany stuff going on, but there's also a lot of lessons happening here too. So that's obviously what this is for, because it's a kid's show, and I kind of missed that. Season 2, they do 2 of those. They do two episode things. They open and close the season with kind of stuff.
Okay.
But they become so much more interested in just the fantasy stuff than making it mean anything. So it's just like, there's this race of doppelgangers that can disguise themselves, and Twilight's old babysitter is going to get married to her brother and all this junk, and it's just like, yeah, but why? Who cares? Like, what is anyone learning from any of this? It's just nothing. It's just story for no reason. Like, I don't know. And then in between that, there's a lot more kind of jokes catering to the older fans they now know they have.
Right. So
like a Big Lebowski kind of joke.
It's almost kind of like a sellout thing, isn't it? Where they started getting some popularity, and then they're like, well, we got to appeal to these guys because they're more important than what we were doing originally.
You know, to some extent, like I really feel that Lauren Faust leaving the show caused more problems than it was initially apparent. Because, like, she was kind of keeping it, like, setting the tone and giving it focus the first time, and then she left after the first season. And then
why did she leave?
I think she's doing some superhero show now. Like something in relation to DC characters, if I recall correctly, but I haven't actually watched it. But she's got her own other projects going on, and this one has kind of lost its direction a little bit in a way that's more and more bothering me. Like, of the 6 episodes this season, I liked one of them quite a bit.
Okay.
And the other ones are just kind of like they almost watched like fan fictions, which is not. That's bad. That's just poor. That makes no sense. Why would you do that? Like, they're just so pandery to stuff that probably wouldn't have happened if there weren't a bunch of people yelling at them on the internet.
Like, but if we're gonna go that direction, if they started doing stuff like Hot Diggity Demon does,
yeah,
they got a new fan in me. That's all I'm saying.
Well, if they go like full tilt crazy with it, but as of where it is right now, it's just a little too aware of that stuff for it to feel genuine and like cool like it did the first time. So it's just like awkward now. I don't know. Right. I am definitely put off by it just a little bit often. Like,
so
if
who's doing it now if she's gone?
I think Jason Thiessen, who was there since season 1, has a pretty big role in it now, but I'm not really sure. Like, a lot of the writers I'm seeing pop up on these episodes, I don't recognize their names. Like, they're not the standbys from the first season. So
they're just kind of bringing people in that might be too online and know what people want.
Like, a little, something's a little bit off with what's happening. Like, I can't, like, I mean, I could describe exactly what it is, but it wouldn't really make much sense. Basically, like, whatever, brief summary, Scootaloo, who can't fly, she's one of the Cutie Mark Crusaders, she idolizes Rainbow Dash, and they just kind of develop that.
Because Rainbow Dash flies very well, right?
Flies very well, and, like, it's kind of about hero worship and stuff, and, like, but, I don't know, just the way it plays out just seems like the episode's called Sleepless in Ponyville, and it has just enough of a weird, awkward, romantic comedy thing to it, which seems off.
That seems like it wouldn't fit with the theme at all, to begin with.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's just like, hey, it's a camping trip with your friends and, like, lessons learned and whatever, like, that should work, but something about it, I don't know.
Weird.
Yeah, it's getting a little strange. I don't know how I feel about it.
I might have to watch one of these episodes you're talking about that you don't like very much and see if I recognize a difference as an outsider.
Okay.
Because they're only like 10 minutes long, right?
They're 22 minutes long.
Oh, they're a full length?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I might be overreacting to some stuff, but yeah, I'm definitely getting a little wary of where this whole thing is going. But anyway, let's talk about films.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I watched Space Jam this week.
Woo!
Yep.
Everybody get up.
Everybody, yeah.
If you're listening to this, stand up.
Yeah.
Everybody,
it's time
get up.
We got a real jam going down.
Welcome to the Space Jam. Here's your chance.
Do your dance.
At the Space Jam.
At the Space Jam.
All right.
Right. The soundtrack is the best part of that movie.
Yeah, probably. I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah. Like, I still have... Like, it is definitely a nostalgia thing for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I watched this movie at, like, 9 or 10 years old. I already like Bugs Bunny. And it was like, hell yeah, this is awesome. Watching it now, like, more objectively as an adult, holy crap, Michael Jordan is a terrible actor. Like, I just didn't think about that ever.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, dude, like, he's just playing himself, but is just, like, bad reaction shots, him trying to kind of react to crazy cartoon nuttiness. Mm-hmm. Like, to be, like, the cartoon nuttiness is distracting you from how bad Michael Jordan is, in terms of just being able to react believably to anything that's happening.
Right.
Which is kind of now funny in a different way.
Okay, like...
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a while, so I think this would be something I would have to watch again and pay attention to, because as a kid, you don't notice shit like that.
I just did not notice ever. It's just like, oh yeah, Michael Jordan, whatever. And it's like, no, dude, whatever. Like, all those athletes, they are not actors. And
Charles Barkley's in it.
Charles Barkley is in it. He has, like, a really mopey scene that is still really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It is... There's scenes, yeah, where, like, they get their talent back and, like, this music plays, and they're just like, yeah, I got my powers. It's just like, this is so dumb. Like, this is the dumbest thing in the world right now. Yeah. But, whatever. And then, yeah, the Looney Tunes just doing doofy stuff. Like, there's a random Pulp Fiction joke in there. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's just there. And then
along with the song, too.
Yeah, it's a full-blown gag, and I don't know why it exists, but, like, there's a bunch, like, also the structure of that movie, it's like barely anything happens. It's just like, the Looney Tunes get themselves in a pickle, mm-hmm. Michael Jordan gets pulled in, they play a basketball game, that's the end of the movie. Like, oh, and then he brings back the talents to the players, and that's it. Like, it's like 87 minutes, it's really only 82 minutes, and Bill Murray is just introduced in the screenplay as, like, a Deus Ex Machina, and it's hilarious. And I love that he's there. Like, that is my favorite part of that movie, is Bill Murray's, like, weird, self-aware appearance in it. Makes no sense. And they call it, too. It's just like, oh, the producer's a friend of mine, he just drove me down. Like, it's so dumb. That movie does not care.
Well, I mean, that's the way the Looney Tunes were, too, though.
Yeah, for sure.
They just did whatever. And it worked out most of the time.
Most of the time. But yeah, there's some sequences in it that are just totally dumb. Like, it's like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck have to go get his sports equipment from his house and, like, deal
with
the
dog. Yeah.
And the dog's size changes in that scene. It makes no sense. He knocks down a door. Like, really? A real dog can't do that. Just off the hinges, just boom.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Weird.
And, like,
okay.
Daffy Duck opens the door, and the dog just fills the screen. You're just like, wait! He would have to be, like, 6 feet. Like, that makes no... What is happening? It does not work with adult scrutiny, really, but it's... I don't know. It's still just goofy cartoon shenanigans. Wayne Knight being really overbearing.
Is this the first Bugs Bunny property that was made after the death of Mel Blanc? Or Blanc, or whatever?
I don't know about the first, but... Big screen thing, yeah. I guess they were... I just read the trivia on it, too, in light of seeing it. I guess they were approaching Mel Blanc's son to do the voices. Apparently, he also is a voice actor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But they couldn't figure out, like, salary stuff or something, so they just went to, like, some other people. And, like, Billy West is in there as a bunch of them and whatever. But, yeah. Super silly movie. That soundtrack's still really great and kind of funny. The opening credits, man. I still love the opening credits more than anything else that happens. Like, it's just this weird summary of Michael Jordan's career. Just this, like, slap dash editing and all this weird stuff. It's just like, this is so awesome. And that's all. But, yeah. As an actual, like, hey, family movie, you should check this out. I think, no, maybe not. Like, I have to contest, like, really speaking, it's kind of bad. But it's still great.
I still want to find, like, a Blu-ray of it or something. I would love to see some special features.
Yeah, I have the special edition DVD, and I discovered there is a Daffy Duck Bugs Bunny commentary.
Oh, God. Okay.
So, I probably have to investigate what that's all about.
Yeah, I think you have to. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Hit 'em High. It's a great song.
Hit 'em High.
Yeah.
Is that on there too? What is that?
It's the one the Monstars sing.
All right.
Song.
Oh, the that accompanies them entering the game.
Yeah, on the CD, it's like Be Real, Busta Rhymes, and LL Cool J, and Method Man, and Coolio.
Okay, yeah, the Monstars. Yeah. Like, when they become all trash talky, it gets so cringy. It's kind of bad.
It's the one that's like, hit 'em high, hit 'em high, hit 'em high.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
I was through the hole, you ain't got no game, I'm breaking you out of the frame, coming through like a train.
There's like 10 seconds of that song, but yeah, okay.
That song's really long, too. Because they all have a chorus.
I do have the whole soundtrack. I haven't really listened to it all. I only listened to that, like, the few tracks that are really pronounced in the movie. But maybe I'll just go through...
Listen to the, what is it, Buggin' or whatever?
Buggin'?
With Bugs Bunny rapping.
Oh, no. That sounds so bad.
It's the last song on the CD.
Alright. I have not properly investigated this CD, apparently. Whatever.
Okay.
Okay. Soundtrack will be better investigated in the coming days. Then became a double shot of Stanley Kubrick.
Okay.
And I guess to kind of set the stage for, like, the reasoning behind Barry Lyndon happening, specifically why I watched it this week. I've had it out from the library for a couple weeks now. I played a video game called Little Inferno.
Yeah.
And it is a downloadable game. I played the Wii U version. It's from the World of Goo people.
Yep.
Interesting little game. It's just you kind of burning stuff, but they kind of set the state, like, in a fireplace. Which already kind of recalls weird childhood kind of stuff of just throwing newspapers and junk in the fireplace, so I thought that was kind of neat that they focused on that. But they give you kind of, like, a lot of reasoning behind why this is happening and what's going on, and there's a nice little story evolution over the course of it. Thing really, though, is I found it really engaging and played through all of it in one sitting. That's 3 hours and 18 minutes was my game, the final tally. And that just made me think, like, wow, that's so weird, because, like, this is small by video game standards, 3 hours.
Yeah.
But by movie standards, like, this is getting up there. Like, that's about as long as a movie gets, is just over 3 hours.
Pretty much, yeah. Any longer, and people usually just walk out.
Yeah. Like, that's pushing your limits in film. But in video games, like, that's totally whatever. So I was like, man, this is so weird, because, like, I'm fully engaged in this activity because there's an activity involved.
Yeah.
But whereas I've been kind of putting off watching Barry Lyndon for years because it's just really long, and I've heard it's really long and kind of, you gotta sit with it a bit. It's kind of a slower movie, and it's just like, but it's Stanley Kubrick. I love Stanley Kubrick.
And that's the thing, like, I just know that it's about 3 hours long, and that has never made me want to sit down and watch it, because whatever.
Yeah, like, it's such a weird thing that, like, with films, that is, like, kind of a bit of a brick wall. It's just like, oh, dude, it's 3 hours?
Yeah.
Oh. And, like, that doesn't really hold up all the time with me. Like, it's like, I really like Magnolia, and I just saw Cloud Atlas, and I really like that, and those are 3 hour films.
Yeah.
But, you just kind of are like, that's a big time investment. What if it isn't very good? You know. Whereas like I'll play a bad video game for more than 3 hours, like a lot. That happens often, and it's just kind of strange that you'll tolerate sitting in front of your television looking at a thing if you're doing something. You know.
Yeah.
Like it's just the nature of the two mediums was kind of put into contrast by these things. So like I did watch Barry Lyndon, and yeah, it is a very kind of slow burn of a movie. It is like it just follows this dude's life in the 17th century or whatever, 18th century I guess, probably actually.
Okay.
18th century. And I think it's just like I just don't find that era and its dilemmas that interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas, like, Stanley Kubrick clearly did. So, I didn't get tons out of it. Like, it's just like, alright, okay, stuff happened. Like, society was different then. There were duels. That's one of the things I found just kind of like, oh yeah, that was actually a thing that people did. It's like, I have issue with this man, and I would very much like to murder him. Can we set up an appointment? And that was like an activity that was sanctioned by rules.
Yeah.
Which is still, that I think is still a great little thought exercise, is just how weird that is, that, like, man's savagery was, like, regulated. Whereas now it's just like, just don't do that, and we're going to put you in a box if you do. You know?
Like a bad kitty or something.
Yeah, like, there's no kind of recourse for that aggression that people have. But, like, the reason people are fighting is still, like, really stupid in this movie. Like, it's just like, you have insulted my honor, sir. I will kill you. And it's just like, what are you guys doing? Like, get the starch out of your shirt and stop being an idiot. Like, there's a lot of characters I just want to slap around, because it's just like, come on! The level of formality that kind of was everywhere, to the point where people aren't really being honest or upfront ever, because there's, like, this societal veil over everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, no, you gotta be polite, dude. It's like, yeah, but I hate that guy. You gotta be polite. Okay. And, like, he'll kind of throw that in the face of people and whatever. Like, I mean, there's obviously, over the course of Barry Lyndon's life, this weird kind of, like, he becomes the thing he hated arc and all this stuff. You know, like, he's a young upstart in his society. He leaves, goes to war, all this stuff happens. He comes back, becomes a nobleman, which he was previously bumping up against, and then, but he starts being really crappy to his stepkid. And then his stepkid has issue with him and challenges him for being kind of a douche. Right. And then it all goes, you know. And it's all over the course of 3 hours. And what's weird is, by the end of it, it kind of just sums it up as just being like, and all these quarrels and the lives of all these people happened centuries ago, and, you know, no matter what class they were in, now it's all over because they're dead. Like, it basically says that at the end. It's just like, that's true, but... I mean, why? What was so good about this story then? Like, why did we focus on this one? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Nothing about what you're saying makes me want to see this at all.
Yeah, it is. Like, it was great watching the trailer for it, because it really made it clear just how kind of a vanity project this is. Like, it's just like, the trailer basically is just a dude reading to you how a lot of critics said it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, random footage from the movie. Actually, not random. Specifically, like, any point in the movie where any type of thing that could be described as action is happening. Which, you know, like, there's a fist fight, or there's, like, a bit of, like, there's some war stuff. But the war stuff is just, like, I don't know if it's parodic, or it's just that's how war was then. Like, lines of dudes walk up, they get shot, and they die. Another line walks up, shot, and they die. Another line walks up, they shoot, some of the other guys die. Like, it's like that kind of, like, just like, what the hell was anyone doing back then? If war was actually like this. So, I mean, on some level, it really well recreates that time and that kind of stuff in some way. Like,
but then, as you were saying, you have no interest in that time, so you must
yeah, exactly. Historically, I have never been like, yeah, dude, 18th century. That's when it was really popping off. Before the Old West, after castles, that's when it had its hotness. And it's just like, no, that was the most boring time in history. Like, actually.
Yeah.
It's documented. That was the most boring time. Nothing interesting happened.
Yeah.
And this movie bears that out. So if you want to see the most boring century of humanity, well realized, all the costumes and everything, they keep everyone who's saying, like, dude, the lighting in this movie is sick, yeah, but, like, how long can you really appreciate that? You know?
Not for 3 hours, I'll tell you that.
You know, you're sitting in this dining hall, and it's candlelit and everything, and you're just like, man, yeah, I bet this is exactly what this would look like. Okay. Like, there's just not a lot to do. There's just nothing to really engage you throughout in a way that was, like, that profound or inspiring. Like, it's just like, alright, I vastly prefer Stanley Kubrick's other movies. And of course, because, you know, film criticism, there is a group of people that are like, I think this is actually Mr. Kubrick's finest work.
Okay. Whatever.
It is his greatest film. And it's just like, alright, you're just trying to impress people.
You're trying to impress, like, probably yourself.
Or something, yeah. Like, you're like, come on. Like, do you honestly watch Barry Lyndon over and over? No, you don't. You don't. Come on. You watched 2001. And even then, there's some dry parts in that movie, dude. Like, whatever. Like,
there's
watching
dry parts in most of his movies.
Yeah, like, watching that documentary about him, it's like, he is a person. Like, he was just a dude. Like, he made a Stephen King adaptation. Like, it's, like, not like he's some deity or something, but, like, he's a, you know, thoughtful filmmaker. He does some stuff. Like Full Metal Jacket. I watched that again.
Yeah.
That was a more engaging experience that, I don't know, I think I had a pretty good time with it. I will say the thing everyone says, though, that first 45 minutes is better than the remaining hour and 10 minutes.
Completely agreed. Yeah.
It's just engaging. It's just like,
the way it is.
Yeah. It's like, I haven't seen a movie do anything like this quite before. You just put you in a boot camp, basically. That's cool. I haven't done that. I have seen a movie with helicopters and shooting and running around. So, like, my brain kind of just sits back in its recliner a little bit.
But have you seen a movie that does that while singing the Mickey Mouse Club?
See, no, but that happened right at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But then, like, after you're done, you can say that you have.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a better person for it.
Like, there was still more noteworthy stuff in that remaining hour than...
Like Adam Baldwin?
Adam Baldwin, I kind of just forgot he was there. And, yeah, he is Animal Mother. He runs around.
Animal Mother, yeah.
Stuff. Like, the way a lot of that combat is just shot and everything, it's just like, wow, this is, like, pretty great. Like, this is well done. It's just, you know, I've seen dudes get shot before, and I don't know. Like, this has maybe a little more of a ironic tone to some of it or something. Like, it's just like, dude shooting out the helicopter door at just civilians and being like, yeah, woohoo! It's just like, what the hell, dude? Like, there's some moments like that, but I don't know.
I mean, with Full Metal Jacket specifically, I think what Kubrick was trying to go for, and it's obvious, is kind of creating a picture of the moment in each of those situations.
Mm-hmm.
And he does that, like, in that boot camp and then the whole thing after and all that sort of thing.
Like, it's kind of memoirs of a soldier kind of stuff?
Kind of, and it's kind of weird because from what I remember, I haven't seen the movie probably in about 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah.
There's no real bias either way. It's almost like documentarian, where it's just, no, this is just what's happening. Like, we're not saying it's good or bad.
I don't know. Like, I guess no real character takes a hard stance in it or something. Like, you're just kind of there, and you're just like, you know, well, specifically, there's the bit where it's just, I think at some point he does kind of question, like, this is pretty crappy, right? When it's like that whole stressful situation, like, a whole bunch of the movie, like, more than I remember, is just them dealing with the sniper, and then they get to it, and the sniper is like a teenage girl, and they just have to deal with that. And, like, that moment was better for me this time, because I was just more engaged by the whole movie this time. I was just paying more attention. Mm-hmm. Early in the second half of the movie, it's not quite, but they talk about the moment when a Marine gets his 1,000-yard stare, and you just kind of, like the war changes you, and then, like, that moment happens when he kills that girl. You know, like, it's just like, that moment changed who that guy was. You know, he has this kind of like, oh, get it? I'm ironic. I know, like, I got this peace button. I'm killing people though. Like, what am I? And then at that point, it's just like, I had to do some shit I didn't like. And like, it was a much more interesting moment than I remember.
Right. I mean, it takes a stance in that way, but it's not like America, fuck yeah.
Oh, hell, no, not at all.
No, that's what I meant. It doesn't take a bias towards, like, yeah, we're the heroes.
No, it definitely doesn't do that. And, like, if anything, like, I'm thinking maybe it just kind of strips away a lot of that stuff to the point where you're kind of meant to obviously conclude, like, this is really weird what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, like, we're just like
no one's winning in this situation.
like the movie opens with them kind of stripping individuality away from all the soldiers by shaving their heads.
And then making them wear the exact same white underwear and shirt.
That process of, like, R. Lee Ermey just kind of destroying these people and rebuilding them as Marines. Like, just taking away everything they are. And then, like, in the second half, though, I guess this is kind of maybe one of my issues with just the way the movie flows, is you lose everyone interesting in the first half in the second half. So, it's like two separate movies. Like, it really is. Like, there's, you know, Cowboy and Joker, but who cares about Cowboy and Joker? No one. Like, in the first half,
it's all about Gomer Pyle.
It's all about Gomer Pyle and Hartman. Like, those are the characters you're like, wow, I'm watching this guy. Like, even in this scene where he's walking down the hallway, I'm keeping an eye on what Pyle's thinking.
Yeah.
You know? And then you lose those people, and it's just like, alright, well, let's start fresh with these supporting characters from Part A. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I don't know, it's just an odd choice that kind of puts you at a strange, dramatic kind of thing. Like, I mean, people die or whatever, like that, you know, life isn't a narrative, really.
Yeah.
But I guess, actually, yeah, I think Scorsese kind of made that observation on the Kubrick documentary I watched that he's playing with dramatic structure, because you know, normally you'd have those characters learn a lesson or something, but they just die halfway through the movie. Mm-hmm. Which is just like, oh man, and then you're just kind of left with these...
Well, that was the lesson, kind of.
Yeah.
Mainly for the viewer, I guess, and the other people involved, not for them.
Right, like there's no real moment where they, in the second part, recall anything that Hartman did or anything. It's just like, yeah, no, that helped them become Marines, but now they're just Marines doing stuff, like, years later. Yeah. And to some extent, they get more personality in the second half, because they're allowed to grow their hair out, and they kind of have had some experience.
Well, they're no longer part of the machine, they're people.
Right, so they're, like, hugging and talking about stuff and whatever, but, yeah, I don't know.
And getting propositioned by prostitutes.
Right, I forgot some of that, like, pop culture stuff. Like, Me So Horny and I Am Become Death are just kind of weird things that this movie helped put out there.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh, I didn't really pay attention to those details before. So I don't know, yeah, I was definitely more impressed by it this time around. But it's still... It's not, like, my go-to Vietnam thing. I think that's probably Apocalypse Now.
Okay. That's a little more heady, though. Like, I wouldn't say to anybody, oh, you like Vietnam movies? Check out Apocalypse Now.
Oh, like, okay.
That seems like something only I would recommend to certain people. Like, I probably wouldn't recommend that to anybody, because then they'd be like, what's going on, or something.
Yeah. Like, in its own way, that movie, too, is kind of irrespective of the actual details of Vietnam. Like, I started listening to the commentary on Full Metal Jacket when I was just like, dude, I'm not going to watch this movie twice in a row.
Yeah.
But dude opens by kind of saying Kubrick kind of strips away some of that specificity, and this could kind of be about just soldiers. It just happened to involve Vietnam, right? Mm-hmm. Like, specifically boot camp stuff is kind of universal. Like, that's just part of how military stuff happens.
Yeah, like, even current day, too.
Right, presumably. Like, I don't know if it's as extreme, less extreme, like, what happens, but, like, it's just... That could very well just be a thing that's happening right now. But, the second half, like, they get into stuff, but it's not, you know, it's just firefights and the stresses involved in chain of command and stuff like that. Like, it's more... It's not so much about, like, a specific campaign in Vietnam or something. Like a We Were Soldiers or something. That very much is all about recreating an event.
Yeah.
In as sentimental a way as possible, really. That's not, like, a great example, but, you know, there's different ways.
So, if we're talking about favorite Vietnam or whatever we're talking about film...
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about, like, just quickly, do we include things that happen, like Vietnam was the backdrop for what's happening after, like post-traumatic things, or things that happened in Vietnam were documented in a movie?
Like, are you, like, I'm thinking mainly
like Jacob's Ladder. All the crap that happens was because of the Vietnam War. But yet, if you look at Platoon, that's being shot, like, they're it's being shot as if it was in the Vietnam War.
Right. Platoon is really the one I'm thinking of because that was like right around the same time as Full Metal Jacket and everything. Best Picture winner and all that stuff. But I mean, like, Born on the 4th of July is kind of not like Jacob's Ladder, but it's more about after.
Right. I mean, if you want to get into that too, I mean, First Blood.
Yeah.
Taxi Driver.
Traumatized dudes.
Deer Hunter.
Yeah. Well,
Even though Deer Hunter is more kind of on the cusp of both.
Yeah, because, I mean, Christopher Walken's still there and such. Yeah, I'd say definitely Deer Hunter is one of them.
I guess Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump, yeah. Forrest Gump's an important Vietnam film. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, if you just want to say Vietnam movie, I guess it opens it up quite a bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it was such a, like, political event, you know? Like, they kind of touch on that briefly in conversation in Full Metal Jacket. Like, it's just like, this isn't a popular war. We gotta kind of tilt the media to kind of, like, we're heroes. We gotta kind of... They do talk about that stuff, but they're very behind the scenes with it, too. Like, it's like the journalists in the writer's room making up the headlines. Or there's a film crew that comes through and interviews them, which I forgot about. Like, there's kind of this,
I forgot about that, too.
There's this meta layer to what's going on.
Yeah,
kind of
weird.
Cool. It was a lot more interesting movie this time around.
I'm going to say that's probably my favorite Vietnam movie, just because as we're talking about it, you're reminding me of a lot of neat things that they did, and in context, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, like, it definitely has a much more distinct identity than I really thought before. Like, other than the boot camp stuff. Like, I would always kind of give an answer of just like, well, I like the boot camp stuff, but they do have some interesting, like, they're trying some stuff in the second part, too. It's just not as different, so it doesn't stand out as well. But, you know, there's still some quality business in there.
I'm going to go ahead and also say that Platoon, even though I do like that movie, it's not even close to being one of my favorite Vietnam-type movies.
Yeah, I watched it once, and I don't know.
It was okay.
Little bits of it are still up there, but it didn't do much for me in a deep, profound way or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It was just some Kubrick thought business happening. I think I'm probably going to watch Eyes Wide Shut this week.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Just finish the timeline. Cause
I'd like to hear what you say about that, because I saw it once when I was probably too young to understand anything.
Okay.
So I probably misinterpreted it.
Like, probably 4 years ago or something, but, you know, it'd be interesting to have some memories of it and see what's happened.
Yeah, but see, I would, when I saw it, would have seen it, I would have been, I don't know, probably about 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So, like, 16?
Yeah, whereas, like, I've changed quite a bit in the last, like, 4 years. I can only imagine that is compounded out after a decade, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what kind of experience I'm ready for, but yeah. I mean, if I find the time, it's like 2.5 hours or something. Which, again, is kind of weird, because I'm probably going to play video games this week, like we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I guess just going back to games, another kind of, like, I ducked into cash converters for a bit, looked at some used stuff.
That's a dangerous road to go down,
I know, but it's fun, like, some stuff too, like...
It's the thrill of the hunt, which is why I don't really care about, like, I need this game, I'm going to go on eBay.
Right.
I just like going into a cash converters and seeing if I'm going to walk out with a piece of gold from my past.
Yeah, or just, like, let's find what I'm going to find. And, like, some of that stuff, like, there's no reference for a certain... Like, I think the last generation, like, Xbox, PS2 stuff, we're at a point where, like, they're just trying to get rid of that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I bought, I bought some games. I mean, one of them was PsyOps. You remember that?
Oh, the Mindgate Conspiracy?
Yeah, I bought that for $5.
Was that on Xbox?
On Xbox, yeah.
Nice.
And a Castlevania game on Xbox for $5. The Painkiller game on Xbox for $5. Like, they're just trying to get rid of shit now.
Yeah, I picked up Alter Echo and Matrix Path of Neo.
Alter Echo sounds super familiar.
The main reason I was looking into it is because Trench/Iron Brigade lead designer Brad Muir, this was one of his early game credits.
As what?
I guess I tweeted him about that. I guess he did the controls, like how I interface with the game. He did that.
Oh, weird. Okay.
So I'm kind of curious about looking into it. Like, apparently, like I checked. I just was like, is this anything. And like Jeff Gerstmann years ago gave it a 7.5 and says the combat's interesting. So I don't know. I'm not sure what to really expect from it, but I didn't have an Xbox when it was the thing. So
I didn't either, so I'm actually looking for an OG Xbox right now.
Okay. I guess I could keep my eyes open or something, but there's a whole bunch of little curiosities that I haven't been able to see, and I kind of just want to look through. So, yeah, I've been picking up some of those, and yeah, just like that generation, they're on clearance basically, buy one get one. So that's why I have Path of Neo, which I picked up only because I've heard it does really doofy stuff with the end of the Matrix movies, which I kind of want to see. Like, them just kind of remixing what happened, and it's just like, what if you actually fought a giant Agent Smith? You're just like,
excellent. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm down.
And then I picked up some Super Nintendo stuff, which I actually did check out. Uniracers and Super Black Bass.
Uniracers is great.
Uniracers is pretty great.
Yeah.
In a way I was not really expecting. Like, it is a crazy well-balanced multiplayer game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Brittany and I sat down with it. Neither of us had really played it ever. And over the course of, like, an hour or something, like, we were just neck and neck all the time. Like, it worked out to, like, 12 victories versus 11 victories or something.
You get a real satisfying sense of speed, too.
Yeah. Like, almost to the point where you can't see what's coming up. But
Which is great.
That's kind of okay. Like, you're just like, alright, there's a slime pile there. I gotta jump over it next time. And the stunt system seems really weird. Like, you can do weird, gnarly stuff I wasn't really getting into the first time. I was just doing flips. But you can do kind of rotate towards the camera, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just jump and do this weird kind of messed up flat spin or whatever, and then land it if you can, and you get a speed boost. Like, I don't know. And, just super, like, smooth, like, really quick. Like, Sonic, but way faster. It just seemed, anyway. It was ridiculous. I guess because they kind of stripped down everything else about it. Like, you are a very simple, like, you're a color of a unicycle, which they kind of gave it some life by the seat looks around like it's a head or something, which is kind of great. But then, just, like, really flat, like, static backgrounds, kind of, and then just, like, the weird pipe-type things you're driving on. And that's it. So it just kind of moves really, really quickly. And, I don't know. I was pretty impressed by that game. I remember, like, I think I played it on an emulator or something years ago, and I was just like, this is kind of okay. But it has some reputation, right?
I mean, it must. I just remember playing it with, like, friends back a long time ago.
Oh, okay. Well, I had a general sense, like, I think people say this is good. That's the only reason I picked it up, and I was like, this is
good. Yeah, for sure.
Good. I was really happy with it. And then I also picked up Super Black Bass because that is what Idle Thumbs is way into right now.
Yeah.
And, like, they made some observations about a couple weeks ago about, like, it's just a really thorough fishing sim.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's kind of, like, I wish I had an instruction booklet, though, because there is one key part of it I just don't understand how to do. Like,
what's
you
that?
go out, like, they set you up, it's like, hey, you're in this fishing tournament, you have X number of hours, you gotta go get the best black bass you can find. And it's just like, okay. So you hit the lake, you got your boat, you're driving around, you got your fish finder, you see a fish, you stop, you get out, you select your lure or whatever, you're ready to go. And at that point, I just have no idea where to cast to find the fish, though. Like, you can kind of zoom out to this, like, overhead view and look at a large part of the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in that screen, I'm supposed to kind of look for a specific kind of clue as to the water movements or, like, the like plants or whatever, and trying to get a sense of where the fish are. But I just don't know what to do. So I'm just casting blind. And I played it for like half an hour or something, just didn't come up with anything at all. Well, so,
from what I remember, it's actually dependent on the time of day you're fishing.
As to what kind of fish you get?
Into, like, where you should look for fish to begin with.
Well, I mean, but fish are showing up on my finder.
Right.
So there's something there. I just don't know how to, like, take that information from the boat driving around screen and translate it to the, well, cast anywhere in this giant open space. Where are you casting? You know, like, to put that information in this other context.
I don't think it matters. I think you just cast out and then slowly drag your lure back until something bites.
You don't see the fish at any point? You're just kind of...
I don't think so.
Hoping for nibbles or whatever? Okay. I kind of basically like at this point, since I don't have a booklet or anything, I'm probably just gonna watch the archive of the live stream they did. And
they live streamed it.
They live streamed it. Like they're way up on this game. I guess it's like Sean has memories of it from the Super Nintendo era or something. And
right.
Again,
it was one of the most more popular games for like fishing or sports or whatever back.
Oh, really? That's awesome. Because the
cover is iconic, actually. Well, for me, anyways. I just remember seeing it all the time.
Hot B, the developer.
Hot B, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a few Super Black Bass.
There was a 3D
sequels too.
Yeah. I don't know. Like literally, yeah. If I didn't wander into like that Thrill of the Hunt type thing, if I hadn't wandered into a store this week, right now, as they're talking about it, I would never care to pick that up ever.
Right.
But it's just like, oh, that's so funny. It's here. It's like $6.
Yeah, those weird ones are cheap too. It's when you try to go for the bigger stuff. It's like I'm not spending $50 on a game that's 30 years old.
Yeah, it's just like we put Mario on it, so that one's must be good, right? And like the store just kind of puts a higher premium on it.
Right.
Like yeah.
No. Yeah, no.
They seem to have some pretty cheap stuff there, and I was like, all right, cool. Like I might just go bargain.
The one down the south there?
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Okay.
There's one by my house too. That's why I asked.
Is that one any good?
No.
Okay.
No, not really. I go there for movies and Xbox, PS2 era stuff.
Mm-hmm.
More than anything, not for retro.
Like no GameCube games.
One shelf, probably 30 total.
Okay. Whereas I just didn't see any. Like they had a sign up for all those consoles. It was like, hey, just buy one get one, whatever. And I don't know. Unless I missed it, I just didn't see any. They already have Wii U stuff, which is kind of weird.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, if you want a cheap copy of, $15 off Super Mario Brothers U.
There you go.
Hook you up to. They also had Malcolm in the Middle Season 1, but they were missing a disc. So I didn't pick it up.
So close.
I know, but like that is actually kind of a weird thing because they only released one season of it ever.
Yeah.
So if you want any Malcolm in the Middle on DVD, that's the only one that exists. But anyway.
Because of cash converters, I have a season of Buffy.
Nice.
I got it for free, so
there you go.
They give shit out.
That's video games and stuff. I also listen to podcasts.
I did too, I guess. That's something I did.
Yep, Giant Bomb, Idle Thumbs. New one for me was Quarter to Three, which is
that any
fast.
good?
You know what? It's fast building up a reputation as being like that negative Nelly on the internet.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, like, okay, dude gave Halo 4 a 1 out of 5. And
what was his reasoning, though? I'm more interested in the reasoning, not the number.
I guess, like, he actually does.
I fucking hate Halo.
No. Like, he brings up the same critiques a lot of people are saying, but he actually reflects that in his score, so I kind of respect what he's doing. Because, like, a lot of people have issues with Prometheans. They don't like how they play, and they think it kind of just isn't as well-balanced and well-thought-out as it used to be.
Yeah, they totally aren't, for sure.
And, like, Spartan Ops is kind of crappy in comparison to Firefight Mode, is his contention.
Haven't played it.
Yeah. So, I don't know. He kind of, he brings up some evidence for why he feels that way. He also really liked Assassin's Creed 3. I read that review, though, and he fully acknowledges that the narrative is terrible. But he loves it as just like a colonial America simulator. So, he gives rationales for why he does
I guess in that respect, that still doesn't interest me being Canadian and not caring about that time period. But
oh, no, I know. Like,
that's a personal thing for me, for sure.
That was the thing that kind of I still liked about it, because, like, ideally, if you read a well-written review of anything, if whether or not that person liked it or hated it, they should give you enough information as to whether you'll like it or hate it, right?
And
like,
he does that?
Better than most, anyway.
Okay. Because it's sounding like Jim Sterling all over again now, then.
I don't... Well, like...
Because he got that reputation, too.
Right. But listening to his podcast, like, they're much more focused on that than... Which I appreciate. Because, like, Jim Sterling, for me, like, I was like, oh, man, this guy's such an interesting voice in terms of his reviews. I'm going to check this out. But listen to him on podcasts, like, he's just joking around all the time. Like, he just doesn't take... Like,
the annoying thing is when they have the 5-minute tidbit of them talking seriously, it's really good.
I know, like, they sold me on Enslaved, and I was really happy with it, because they had a really, like, it's just like, alright, let's stop talking about dicks and fart jokes and all this crap. So anyway, I played this game Enslaved, and, it does some really, it's like, what the hell, why is this conversation hidden in nonsense? Like, why do I have to dig through 2.5 hours of, like, Willem Dafoe impressions to get this, like, really thoughtful little snippet?
It's worse than that now, by the way.
I wouldn't doubt it.
What they talk now about is anally raping Jonathan Holmes.
Hilarious.
And him, like, shitting everywhere and stuff like that. I'm not even kidding.
Like, it's, yeah, the juvenile side of it is just, like, that's, I'm not morally opposed to it, it's distracting from better stuff that you could be doing.
And the funny thing is, like, because of that, I've actually gone back and just started downloading old Podtoid.
Yeah.
That shit's good, man. A lot of it's real good.
I'm trying to think when I was listening to it a bit before the Mario Brothers commentary, like the kind of break they did.
Yeah, like when Anthony left.
Yeah, like the months leading up to that is when I started listening to it.
So Brad Nicholson was already part of the main hosts.
Yeah. Okay. And then I was listening to Electric Hydra, which was kind of their reformation elsewhere.
But they don't update nearly. Like, I think much.
I think it's pretty much over now. I don't know. I haven't really gone back to it in a while.
They did one about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. I just kind of assumed it was dead. It didn't seem to...
And actually in that one, they talk about Hotline Miami.
Oh, okay.
So that might be something you should be interested in.
I guess I could revisit that one, but...
I guess, okay, so sorry. They talk about Hitman Absolution, Far Cry 3, Assassin's Creed 3, and Hotline Miami in that one.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good one. But,
is Topher there?
Not in that one, I don't think, no.
Okay. Like, he doesn't talk much anyway, but he's kind of a funny...
I do like Topher in the original Podtoid lineup there, or one of the original Podtoid lineups there, because he was always a different voice. Like, the only time he ever really spoke up is when they talked about shmups and fighting games.
He loved shmups, I remember that.
Yeah, but, like, he actually had basis in those, so he could talk well about them.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where, like, I would, after listening to him and Aaron Lindy talk, I would just be like, I think I should be into shmups now. And
okay.
That's pretty powerful, because, like, I do like them, but not, like, to the extent they do at all.
Right. But, like, their level of appreciation of it kind of...
And the way they're able to talk about it excitedly and eloquently is a pretty important thing. And I guess the reason I'm bringing this up at all is because we were having a little bit of an argument at some point, and I think it might have been somewhat miscommunication, or just the fact that Twitter is a terrible format to discuss anything because of character limits.
Okay.
Where I think I was saying something about how I'm just kind of sick of games trying to be pretentiously over, like, they're trying to be more of a story and focus on weird things, and I just kind of want games to be fun at this point.
Oh, yeah. This has been a general kind of thing I've been seeing more and more of, is, like, the use of the word fun. So sorry if I jumped down your throat on it, it's just...
Well, I was listening to... It's called Jaffe Toyed, is the episode, and it was Anthony Birch said something similar to what you would have said, like back maybe 5 years ago, and David Jaffe basically called him a pretentious fucktard or something, and said like, video games are supposed to be fun first and foremost, and blah, blah, blah. So there was a little bit of a squabble that was a miscommunication in the end, based on D-Toyd forums.
Right.
But... They had about an hour-long talk, and from that talk, I realized that what I meant to say wasn't the word fun. It was just the first one that popped into my mind. I'm trying to remember what the word even is that conveys what I meant more. Engaging.
Engaging or engrossed or whatever? Like,
yeah, like those are the words I actually meant to say.
Right, yeah.
But like when you use the word fun, it's too general.
It's so general. Like, it kind of is like, well, what do you mean? Like,
Katamari means different things to every different person.
Yeah, like, it's that relativity of the word that kind of makes it a dangerous one for me, at this point anyway, because it's like, people are saying, like, hey, Far Cry 3 is fun. And you're just like, well, but you're shooting people, and, like, I don't know, is that what you mean? Is that what you mean? And I think it's just they mean, it's fast, it works, it's like Just Cause 2 or something, you're just bombing around this island and it's, but at the same time, Just Cause 2 has some crappy control stuff in there with shooting stuff, so like that part of it isn't fun. Like, like this is where fun falls apart really quickly.
Right.
Like it's, whereas like for me, I'm trying to kind of like distinguish it from like, I think a lot of times people just mean like there's no glaring problems, like it's just really functional, like it works really well
and it appeals to me in a certain facet of what I enjoy.
Well, like it keeps you going, like the engagement part of it too, like it's just like it keeps fueling itself really well. Like Little Inferno is kind of fun, but at the same time you're kind of just sitting there, so and and the story and stuff is a little bleak at times, so it's like not fun like a comedy is fun, if you compare it to movies.
Yeah.
Like, it's once you, like, I've been trying to, like, kind of see what vernacular from talking about movies can be shared with games, and sometimes it's really different. Like,
definitely,
it's like, well, what do you mean it's fun? Like, I mean, this should be a serious subject. Like, is Saving Private Ryan a fun movie? Like, and if it is that a problem? Like, should it be? Like, that kind of stuff. You can't really ask those questions about video games as easily because people are like, well, no, it has to be fun. Like, I've been getting a lot of fights lately in light of Far Cry, just relating to Far Cry 2 stuff. Because, like, people were like, well, Far Cry 2 wasn't fun, is the thing people say. And it's just like, well, what do you mean? Like, I mean, I think that was part of the point. But then, some of them will dig a little deeper, and it's just like, well, no, I actually had these problems with how it immersed you in the world, and I thought there was problems. You're like, oh, okay. Like, in that respect, fair enough. But if you're just saying on, like, the base level, it's just like, man, I just wanted, a lot of cool gear, and I wanted to blow up dudes better. And it's just like, that game was actually trying to, in a weird way, commentate on war just being this grindy, crappy thing. So, it's not supposed to be fun the way you're saying fun. So, don't, like, that's not fair. You can't really criticize it for that, and it's just like, I don't know. It gets into a weird kind of pickle issue, but and like I'm saying that from like reading Clint Hawking talking about it, the guy who made it,
right? So which is biased as fuck to begin with.
Well, like that's his intent anyway. So it's like whether or not it works is still up to you. Like you're just like, well, at the end of it, I thought it was.
And just straight up, it won't work for some people, and that's every game. Like, I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there that they try Hotline Miami, they're like, this is bullshit.
And, like, even some, like, people just unable to finish it. Like, it's just like, it's like a 3-hour game, I don't understand. And you're just like, I just didn't feel the combat sustained the whole game. And you're just like, are you serious? I thought it was way better than any other combat I played in a video game in a while.
But it's the same combat the whole game. Like,
but
what did they mean sustained? Because it's not long enough to really need a change.
I know, like that would be kind of
maybe if it was like a 40-hour game, then I don't want to do that for 40 hours.
Like I need a new mechanic or something. Like you got to throw something else in there at that point. But if it's like as short as it is, and I played it like 6 times, so I spent more time with it than most would have given that mechanic, I guess. But like that's like But then at the same time, then go and give a first-person shooter like 4 or 5 stars and just be like, yeah, no, this is still great. You're just like, well, this plays the same as all of them ever have. So what is going on? I don't know. Video game criticism, man. I don't know how valuable it is.
So I guess just going back quickly, if you haven't listened to that Jaffe Toid, I suggest Nathan, you download it.
Okay.
And just give it a listen to, because I think it brings up both sides of the non-argument we were having, or that I wasn't even sure if we were having, but honestly I didn't really care.
So I wasn't angry, really. It was more just, it was echoing stuff I was having conversations about on...
And long story short on that, I mean, Nathan was trolling Giant Bomb.
Well, I was... Wait.
The community. You even said yourself, at a point, this has just become trolling.
Oh, okay. Well, to be fair, I was having a lot of private message conversations with people in light of forum discussions. And then
I guess I should say the community, not Giant Bomb members. Like, not the the site guys.
That's not true. Brad Shoemaker and I had an exchange.
Oh, really?
I won't really get into it. It was pretty dumb. But, I got a achievement out of it on the website though.
And now I am banned from PAX. Ever talking to them?
No, if a staff member replies to a thing, I really thought he was super dismissive, but I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk not without the mic on because people don't need to. You don't need to air dirty laundry out.
Yeah. The way it spilled into the forums was mainly because like me and a dude were having actually a pretty good conversation in private messages, and dude was just like, "Why are you PMing me all this stuff? We should probably talk about this." And I was like, "Okay." So then I put one of my replies in the thread, and then I got yelled at by a moderator for it's like, "This has nothing to do with the topic title," and I was like, "You know what, sir? You're right. It does not, because the topic title is like." Which version of Far Cry 3 is better, 360 or PC? And then Nathan comes in helpfully and says, why don't you just play Far Cry 2? It's way better. Anyway, later.
Yeah, that is trolling.
Yeah,
okay.
In effect, that's basically what I said. It was like, this one has this, also a more mature design philosophy. I don't know if you're into that.
Yeah. Fair enough.
It was great. But anyway.
That is... knowing how you are, that is totally, I could see it.
Right. Anyway, so briefly bringing it back to Quarter to 3, I like the way they relate to their community and stuff, too, and I'm probably going to spend more time on and stuff.
And, we've been talking a little bit about it, we're not too impressed the way Giant Bomb relates to their community.
Yeah, they're kind of...
is that something we should talk about on here? That's still airing out dirty laundry, kind of?
It's kind of butthurt fans talking about stuff, which is kind of lame, but I just, there's a bit of just...
It's not really butthurtedness, though, when you're kind of censored and you're part of the reason why they were able to make Giant Bomb a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Not personally, I just mean the community.
Right.
Mine's less about personal gain and ego than it is the fact that nobody in the community is able to, talk about stuff they do outside of the community without being shut down by a moderator.
It seems a little weird, given that I think one of the most important things happening right now is the rise of, user-generated content and, making YouTube videos and, Let's Plays and blogs.
And considering the site is user-generated, they put everything in the wiki.
It's a little bit hypocritical to be like, hey, express yourself freely in this area. Don't talk about anything outside of this area, though.
And then, we get shut down for saying that we do a podcast every now and then.
Which I've seen other people somehow bring up, at least years ago. Maybe they've clamped down on it recently because there's just too much creativity going on. Which would be really weird.
Yeah, that's almost Nazi-ish. It's no, there's too many freedom things going on here.
Yeah,
it's not good.
In weird ways that we didn't foresee, so keep it on top, guys. None of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. I guess my main issue is just more Giant Bomb taking their fans for granted for a long time.
Specifically, some people. I'm not going to name names. That's lame. Fuck that.
I'm just talking about on the podcast, really.
The podcast, for sure. Just other things in general, but I'm not going to name the specific guys I have issue with in that regard, I guess. So what?
I guess that's getting a little too inside baseball. We're probably already
that's getting a little too much, I hate him.
That's
not true at all. I'm just disappointed, I guess.
I guess for the unfamiliar, Giant Bomb is a website. I don't know.
It's a video game website about video games.
Yeah, and it's formed by a bunch of former GameSpot guys. So they have a decade of history or more, and yeah, it's just kind of weird. Been following them for a long time to see some refusal to change with the times.
Yeah.
Which is getting frustrating to me. It's just here's our Game of the Year list, all the hot AAA titles that mattered, and you're just there was a lot of games this year. Lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them aren't even being talked about. It was kind of...
I do enjoy those podcasts. Because...
Yeah, I do?
Because I like when they fight over the dumbest shit.
Specifically, we're talking about their Game of the Year Deliberation podcast.
That's what I meant, yes.
They really... That is the one time of year where they're alright, we're going to talk about all the spoilers, all the stuff we had issue with.
And they bring their knives out. They're no, this deserves this because of this. That game was bullshit and stuff. They start talking.
I still find it really weird, that part of the year contrasts so sharply with how they talk the rest of the year. It's just
yeah.
This game's great, 5 stars. And then
I'm going to say that about They always do that with their reviews.
That has kind of been the revelation I've had this past week with Far Cry 3.
I don't even read the reviews, to be honest.
Okay, like, it's kind of weird to get into it, but whatever. Basically, like, my issue was kind of, they gave Far Cry 3 5 stars, and if you read the review, like, even at just that base level of just looking at the review, it doesn't make sense to me. Because, like, if you read that review, there's like a paragraph of, like, problems that he has with the game. There's mention of, like, the being terrible.
Who was it again that did it? Was it Jeff or Brad?
Brad.
Okay,
Which is why I got kind of in a weird little spat, because I was like,
I didn't read the review.
Okay.
I did see that it was 5 out of 5, and if you listen to last week's podcast, I mean, I guess when people are hearing this, not this week's that you just heard Tuesday, if you listen to that, but the week before,
yeah,
they don't talk positively about that game for about 20 minutes.
No, like that, like, I wanted to keep it limited to the review to say, like, even just in the core of it, there's already kind of weird issues.
Right, then, I'm sorry, I had to just say that, though, because I have no basis in the review, I haven't read it.
No, but okay, this actually kind of helps my issue as well, because a lot of people don't read it. That's just a reality. Like, that's just something you need to get over yourself at some point and realize 90% of people aren't going to read the, like, 10 paragraphs you wrote. They're going to look at the score and the summary thing, and they'd be like, alright, apparently it's awesome.
Shameless plug, I guess that's why we do podcasts on Pixel Response, so no numbers here, just ideas.
Yeah, and, like, our write-ups are kind of just conversations when we did them, which, sorry, I haven't been able to do that. But, okay, yeah, like, you can't really put a number on it and then expect no one to look at it,
Right.
Because, like, in my comment, I was kind of like, dude, what? Like, how is this a 5? And then it was like, hey, look at our review guidelines. And I was like, that doesn't matter, because most people aren't going to look at it. And it's just like, review guidelines. Like,
see, and it's interesting, because if you go back to Jim Sterling for a second, too, he has the opposite effect, where he'll put a number on there, and then people will be like, what? How does this work? Why is it a 4 out of 10? And then people will read the review, and then it usually matches up. So, like, this review score can be used for good.
Yeah, I feel like in this case, it's just not reflecting. Like, another one of my favorite examples is Ryan Davis in Assassin's Creed Revelations.
Or any Assassin's Creed game he plays. He's acted the same way.
He genuinely likes some of them and overlooks issues with them. So, but
that's fair enough.
In Revelations, though, he actually is like, man, I don't know about this one. Like, it has problems. In retrospect, especially, like, just like, ugh, that one was bad. 4 out of 5, though. So, like, to people that year who were, like, looking, is like, oh, well, is it good? Oh, it's good, okay, and then they go and buy it. Like, I mean, you're kind of not using your power correctly if you're just going to slap, like, a good number on it, because it's, it works, it's got a big budget, it functions, like, it's like, what? That's not what's important. Like, is it good? Does it actually add up to something at the end of it all? Like, this, I guess, also brings in the time spent thing for me. Like, I think people get really attached to really defensive about video games because, like, it's a considerable time investment. So it's like
a relationship that you build with this piece of media.
Yeah, it's so weird how different it is. Like, you could watch, like, a movie and it's just like, oh, it's 90 minutes.
Well, you're the audience with a movie. Like, it is literally like a relationship that you're cultivating by spending time and progressing through this piece of this medium, really.
Well, in a video game, but I mean,
in a video game,
there's some similarities because, like, I guess specifically calling back to Killing Them Softly, like, I watched a 97-minute movie. I had a good time. Other people had a bad time. But I can understand why there were differences and where the lines got crossed and different thoughts.
Because you shared the same time commitment, though.
Right. And it's the same thing. So it's like, well, okay, and also it's such a short amount of time, it kind of doesn't matter at the end. I don't get as invested. Yeah. Whereas I would akin a video game, specifically a big video game, kind of like a Far Cry where you're playing like 40 hours of it, to more like you spent years of your life watching an entire TV series. Like
MASH or something.
Like, it's the only similar, like, video type thing that is as long. Like, specifically I'm thinking of Lost. It's
okay,
like,
Lost, yeah, okay.
All 6 seasons of Lost. by the end of it, a lot of people will be kind of, just be like, yeah, no, it was great. Whereas I was kind of a late to the party person, so I just kind of breezed through all of it, and I was just like, man, that just didn't add up to much. But there's people who are like there for 8 years, and they're just like, no, you will not sit here and tell me that this was a waste of my time. This is one of the greatest shows ever made. And you're just like, okay, I don't know. That's where you get that level of defensiveness about a video medium, of just watching it,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with video games, almost everyone out there is like that. You're just like, well, I spent 46 hours with Far Cry, or with, I'm going to say actually Fallout New Vegas, for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, some people come along and they're just like, dude, this game's, so bad. It's so broken. It's like, did they QA test it at all? And, my initial gut reaction is like, shut up, you. This is awesome.
I could see that with Skyrim, but a lot of people didn't complain about Skyrim.
Right. But, if I really have to be objective, or as least as much as I can about it, yeah, Fallout New Vegas has, some profound problems, I was willing to overlook them because I was engaged in other parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that game straight up broke for me a couple times. There was a quest that I could not redeem, and I had to do something I wouldn't have otherwise done. I had to kill a whole other faction just to kind of correct this.
I heard that a few people actually had that problem, too.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, you really could look at it and be like, this is an objectively bad video game. But it's not, because it's a subjective experience, and you kind of invest in it. So, yeah, at that point, it becomes your own thing, and I still, overall, really liked it. It was one of my favorite games that year.
Right.
But at that point, I'm in kind of a good spot, though, because I'm not tasked with recommending it to people in any kind of, purchasing decision way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I have to be there day one with my verdict on it, and then get angry people being like, what are you talking about? This game's so broken, I don't know. That's where it's, video game criticism is kind of in this awkward spot where it's kind of basically part of just advertising for a game.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to be there day one to celebrate the thing, but, really, with how long it is and how much time it takes for all this stuff to shake out, it takes maybe months for a real sense of how good the game actually was to really happen. At least that seems to be the case, I've seen, anyway, a couple
Right,
times.
so maybe everybody next month will be like, Resident Evil 6 was pretty good.
Who knows? Really,
you never know.
You can't look at a Metacritic of, 72 and be like, well, that means it's bad. Because, whatever.
And you gotta take into account that hype actually has more power than I think people let on.
Right, so people are really, really excited about Resident Evil 6, so they have a certain expectation, and then it falls short of what they expected, so then they dismiss it entirely.
Right.
And also, you have this weird kind of extra issue of, video game reviewers having to play it all in, 48 hours or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, again, what happens if it wasn't really designed to be experienced that way? What happens if you're supposed to play Leon's campaign and then let it, just sit back for a while, don't worry about it. And then play, Jake's a little while later. Whereas if you play it all in one highly congested space, it becomes you playing the same boss battle over and over, and you're just like, man, this sucks, this is stupid.
Mm.
But, again, I don't know, video games are kind of up to you as to when you watch it or what you do with it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, that's where it all falls apart in terms of relating it to conventional media reviews and stuff. It's such a bizarre thing. It's just very different. Anyway, so tying it all back, quarter to 3 acknowledges some of those differences. So I seem to like it. I don't know. They avoid some pitfalls, but there's some others that no one's perfect, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just specifically not really explaining the score in a couple cases seemed to happen. Where it's just well, I get that you didn't really get much out of it, but what was wrong with it? I don't know. Although maybe that's actually quality. It's very subjective. They're very, very subjective there, and that's all you can really be with video games.
Alright, so it sounds like I'm gonna have to add this podcast to my lineup.
Well, the site, anyway. The podcast on its own, I do appreciate things about it, but I don't know. It's okay, actually. No, it's fine.
Yeah, just to be completely honest, I don't have time to read sites.
Oh, okay.
I just don't. Like, the only reason I can do podcasts and audiobooks, if I find an audiobook I'm into, is because I can do it while I work.
Okay. In that respect, then, yeah, I guess there's some good conversations there. Like, they have opinions, and they back them up for the most part. And also, one of the dudes there, Jordan McMaster, his voice reminds me of, like, just Kevin Smith, but, like, mixed with some other dude. I'm trying to put a label on. It's just a pleasant voice to listen to, and I enjoy it. It's like, what if Kevin Smith was really knowledgeable about JRPGs?
Alright.
That would be a fun character to listen to. I don't know.
So and that makes 15 podcasts now.
Yeah.
In my list.
And the main kind of psych guy I've been talking about is Tom Chick. He's the contentious reviewer guy. Who apparently has some history with a website called Crispy Gamer, which was well regarded some years ago.
So, is this quarter to 3, are they big?
I
just clicked on their site here, and the most comments I've seen on a thing is like 24, which isn't huge, but it's not small.
Check the Halo 4 review comments. They're at like 1,400 or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's mainly like they are on Metacritic, so they attract that attention.
Uh-oh.
It'll be like, wait a minute, why is this 27 publication said, yo, it's hella sick, and then this dude said 1 out of 5. Like, that just contrasts so sharp.
Yeah.
That, like, occasionally, he's one of the lower reviews on Far Cry 3 as well, so that got some heat.
So what you're saying is we need to be part of the Metacritic crew.
I don't know. Well, we don't put numbers on things anyway, so it's that we just don't fit that model at all.
We could do it just to troll people, I guess. But then, like, you feel almost bad because we're taking money out of people's pockets too.
I don't want to just be a troll. Like, that's not the goal here. It's just, I don't know. It's an interesting game criticism discovery. I'm intrigued by it.
I can't find his Halo 4 review.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I haven't just used the search bar, I guess. So as soon as I used that, it seemed like maybe I did. I don't know. It doesn't really matter either way.
Click reviews. Scroll down.
Yeah, I'll find it off air here. I just want to plug one podcast I've been following for a while now. I think they deserve some more people. It's called Vent Chat. VENT Chat.
Okay.
Based off of Venturillo Chat. They used to be a WoW podcast, but then they just became a bunch of dudes hanging out, having fun, and like playing radio-type games together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just really fun to listen to. And it's kind of nice because I'm just going to quickly... I have my phone out here. Like, on my list here, I have a whole bunch of video game stuff, like Destructoid, Giant Bomb, Idle Thumbs, Mega 64... and like a bunch of WoW stuff because I like the lore and stuff of WoW. So like the Instance, WoW Insider, and some comedy stuff and all that sort of thing. But like what they bring is just kind of a less serious, just kind of a bunch of dudes having fun together talk. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of nice to listen to in between people trying to like talk too seriously about stuff. So I think if anybody wants a nice little change, you should give those guys some love. They're pretty good guys, I guess.
Okay.
Vent Chat. I guess on Twitter, the main guy, it's just at Vent Chat, so you could talk to him too. He seems nice enough, I guess. I wanted to say one thing quickly about Mega 64. Mm-hmm. I don't like when they talk about video games. It just seems weird.
Well, I don't know. Like, I kind of like it when it's ultra subjective, though. It's literally just them as dudes who buy games and play them just like we do, like...
Right, but, like, it's just kind of weird to hear because they're technically part of the video game industry.
Yeah.
And they know very little about it.
Oh, for sure. But
it's just weird to me. And, like, I take that because they, like, spend a lot of time doing their craft. Mm-hmm. But, like, the fact that they didn't know that, like, the Wii U wasn't selling like hotcakes and just stuff like that.
Okay.
Because they were saying something about the Wii U, and they're like, oh, maybe they just sold out so fast that they couldn't get it. Because that's what happened before. It's like,
yeah.
Well, yeah. No, that's not it at all. It's everywhere.
They're kind of in their own kind of, like, they're satirists primarily, like jokesters. So...
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, like, that's fine. But when they try to talk seriously about games, it's just kind of weird, and I don't really like it.
Okay.
I like it when they do their thing and they're just like joking around and talk. They can talk about games they like and stuff, but when they're trying to talk about
comment on larger issues, they don't have enough information sometimes, or
yeah, and it just comes off as weird, especially for people in the industry.
I guess so.
Or just things like when they can't remember the name of like gaming people that they've talked to in person.
Well, they had a whole joke about that. They had that fake game show.
That was pretty good.
It was like their inability to recall people they've spent hours with at events, and
it's like who runs the Penny Arcade Expo or whatever.
Yeah, it's just like, oh.
And you can't say Robert Koo, and they're just like the dudes in the comics.
Yeah. No, they're definitely in their own strange little spot.
That's the only thing that's an issue with me. Like,
okay,
it's not even a huge issue. It's just when they start talking, I'm just like, cringing a little bit.
I guess the thing is, like, they never really seem to purport to be serious in that stuff for me. Like, I mean, they do have a live stream they do and stuff like that. So in that respect, there was more like, we're taking a look at video games. But mostly it's just them chatting about, like, a burger they ate or some weird thing that happened. And then it'll be like, also, I played Resident Evil 6. I kind of like it, or something like that. And you're just like, okay.
But then I can't, like, understand, or I can't tell when they're being serious or when they're joking when they say stuff like, yeah, there's this Firefall game or something. It's like, dude, every PAX you've been part of has had a full part of the exhibition hall for nothing but that. So I'm thinking they're just being sarcastic, but you never really know.
Well, did you watch that summary of the live stream they did?
The summary?
They guested on.
I saw their makeup and all that sort of stuff.
Like the goofy appearance they did on that live stream?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like that's mainly what they were talking about in relation to Firefall. They went in character as goth kids to Firefall launch thing.
Which is really funny because they didn't even talk about the game.
Like, pretty much at all, yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
it was just like kind of playing on monitors behind them.
Yeah.
That was like the most.
Yeah, that's some Andy Kaufman type performance art, goofy stuff. I don't know. That's kind of what I like about them, is they just don't take the stuff seriously at all. Which, makes them their own kind of unique thing. But yeah, I don't go to them for, like, serious information about what's going on.
Right, so when they try to provide it, it's cringeworthy.
Oh, okay. I guess I just don't see that happen that often, but okay. Also, okay, the other minor thing, the Steam box is real, Paul. It's happening.
It's good.
Gabe basically...
I already have a Steam box. It's sitting right in front of me, so I'm not worried.
PC, I don't know if you heard of it. Yeah.
I don't know if you heard of it.
I've already been kind of, like, just kind of being like, man, like, Valve really could eat up this whole thing next time round. Like, I mean, you have Sony and Microsoft kind of waiting way too long.
Not only could they're lined up to do it.
Yeah.
Like, they have the decision now where if they want to push the little red button that just, like, destroys the competition, except for Nintendo, because Nintendo does their own thing.
Yeah. Like, they're in a very cool spot, and I'm actually fine with that, because they handle their community so much better.
Mm-hmm. They treat their customers like real people.
Right. It's like, really, like, it kind of is perfect timing, because those emails have been going out with, like, the 25 cents from Microsoft.
Yeah.
And, like, that just so perfectly shows, like, the difference there. Like, it's just like, hey, thanks for sticking with us for so many years. Here's 20 Microsoft points. And, like, that is basically them saying, fuck you. Like,
yeah, that's like the rich person say, here's a pence for your trouble.
Like, Microsoft sent out a giant mass of emails to all their fans and said, hey, fuck you.
I mean, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would have been cooler if they had just said it.
It's such a gross, condescending thing to do. And it's like, you know, meanwhile over here, Valve is constantly giving you sales and breaks on stuff and, like, free weekends and all this stuff. And it's just like, you know, I totally get this is obviously them fostering goodwill so you keep spending money. But they're doing it right, you know? Like, It's like,
and they're showing that people don't have a problem spending money.
Yeah, I don't have that problem spending that money on this good stuff. Like, that's great. But, you know, you gotta, you know, give me something worthwhile. It's like, hey, yeah, thanks, Steam. Good job.
Some incentive.
Microsoft's just like, this is now $15 forever, and yeah, you better pay it.
Microsoft's like, so you owe us money. You might as well pay it now.
Yeah.
It's like, because we're in your system, like, your systems and our systems in your house, so you owe us money for that privilege.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome.
And PlayStation's like, it's kind of nice that you have our system there. Why don't we give you this if you give us a little bit of money? We'll throw you some cool shit that we handpick.
Right. Like, on the console end, they're handling it better anyway.
And then Steam's kind of just like, hey, friend, want to play this?
Mm-hmm.
It's just...
Try it out for a week. I don't know.
It's just nice guy Valve.
That was fun, right? Hey, why don't you buy 2 copies? We'll throw in a discount on the second one. You can give friends.
Yeah, it's like, tell you what, if you give us about $5 more, why don't we get 3 of your friends in here, too, so you can have some more fun?
Oh, there you go. Like, obviously it's all self-serving in the end, but that's fine if you, just keep... It's smart.
I don't think consumers have problems with companies. They have problems with corporations that treat them like they're lesser people or something.
Right.
Because everybody wants to be... Like, there are loyalty cards and stuff for different places for a reason. Mm-hmm. People will be loyal if you treat them correctly.
Yeah. Buy 9 ice creams, get a free one.
That's right.
That's a good idea. And at the end of it, you've eaten way too much ice cream, and they have tons of your money. But you still feel like
you're both happy.
But you're both kind of happy, yeah.
And they're happy that you ate so much ice cream.
Yeah, New York cheesecake. It's good ice cream.
Is it?
I really like it. It's one of my favorites.
Should try it out.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us here at Pixel Response Podcast.
Here comes the shilling of everything, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Get ready.
All right, so we're recording Monday.
Do we have questions or no?
No.
Okay.
Not this time around. We're not doing this live this time around just because of circumstances and not advertising it. So you didn't miss out on anything. We still do have a few prizes. So next time... Actually, you know what? Next week, maybe we'll do a Christmas stream.
Okay.
Because we probably won't be around for Christmas week, I'm guessing. Like, I won't even be in the city for most of it.
Oh, alright.
We'll see what's going on with that. But anyways, next week, from when you're hearing this, Monday, of course, we'll have Retro Kill Screen as normal. Tuesday will be another Indie Talks with Default Dan Guys. I believe, is next week. We have to get a Breaking Balls done, and I have a few ideas for that, so that'll be for next month. And, of course, we'll do our normal podcast that you're listening to next week as well. I'm thinking for the Christmas stream, maybe we'll choose a few winners, and I'll give out a prize worth up to $20 on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
So people can get some decent games they've been wanting all year. And then, of course, you and I, we have some work to do deciding on Media of the Year stuff coming up.
Yeah, which I've been trying to think through. It's kind of a weird year for that, but we'll figure something out.
This is...
We'll have some stuff for you.
Yeah, this is it's definitely a weird year. I've been looking at some lists, and I realized, like, on the video game front, a lot of it's indie games this year for me.
Yeah, that have really stood out as being interesting.
For movie stuff, a lot of it I haven't seen that people will be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I maybe want to throw some music stuff in there too. Like the Jam of the Year or something.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll get more into that, like, off air, obviously, but that Media of the Year stuff will be coming up. Maybe we'll do lists, like a write-up of the lists we decide on the site and let people vote on stuff too. I don't know. We'll work something out.
Some manner of, it's the end of 2012, celebration of media. Woo! That'll happen.
If any of you listeners have any ideas for media or just want to talk to us, you can do so at facebook.com/thepixelresponse. Email address at podcast at pixel-response.com. You can get us on Twitter at pixel_response for the main page. It's probably better off if you get me or Nathan separately. You can do that at Krasnor, KRAZNOR, or me at Exposure, EXFAUXSURE. Stitcher, go on Stitcher, do look us up, give us a thumbs up. It helps out more than you probably know. iTunes will be coming soon, and when you do that, you can vote on that, but we're having issues with that. Apple is being a bitch. Anyways, and as always...
Hey, what? Okay, we'll talk about that after.
Yeah, it's been a whole thing trying to get this podcast on there because their store keeps timing out and keeps erroring out for weird reasons that change every time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been having issues with that, but you can still read, hear everything at http://pixel-response.com for more. And we have forums up if you want to sign up and go do that. We'll try to talk on there if we start getting community support. But more importantly, you should subscribe to the podcast feed, which is up in different spots, but I'll put up on the news front, so anybody that's not subscribed yet can do so, and you'll get all the podcasts and weird stuff we do via that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's probably it for now, and we will see you guys next time.
Alright, and movie of the week, Full Metal Jacket. Check it out.
Well, we're doing movie of the week?
I don't know, we both talked about it and liked it, so...
I watched Rosemary's Baby.
Oh!
That was on TV, and I only watched the last hour and a half of it.
Oh, okay. But is that your pick then? Because...
Yeah.
It's a good movie. Check it out. Roman Polanski, check it out. He's pretty cool.
It is actually pretty good. Actually, and the two people I watched it with quite liked it as well, so there you go.
Yeah. Radical opinions here. Critically well-regarded movies are pretty good sometimes.
See you guys later.
I'm just adding more Steam stuff. It's great. The Humble Bundle, Paul.